I will sort of just say a quick hello for now. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy Mangione. I'm the Assistant Dean of Admissions. And I want to give a warm welcome to all of our admitted students and any friends or family and sort of support network that may be joining. We're really thrilled to see you here today. I do have some opening remarks, and then you're going to get to meet many members of our community. But before we do that, I have a quick video for you to watch that I think is going to help give you a flavor of the Albany Law community and sort of set the tone for the day. So I have my colleague Ben who's going to cue that up for us.
The key driver for me in deciding to go to law school was my curiosity to understand exactly what makes America work.
I came in here saying, I want to be a prosecutor, and it's very exciting. So yeah, it's come full circle.
I've learned in life you have no idea where life is going to take you. And I'm happy with the decisions I've made. I'm happy with where I've ended up here at Albany Law.
Independence means to a student that they get the best, most current education that we can dream of. Taking advantage of the innovations in our curriculum allows a student to become a lawyer for the future, to become a professional who's able to address and solve problems. When we talk about impact in this campaign, we're talking about impact that has always been true, which is the way that Albany Law School impacts our community.
The military tradition in my family goes back towards my grandfather. He served during World War II, my father during Vietnam, and then myself during the global war on terror. I feel it's a uniquely American thing to do, is to serve, putting others before yourself. In the military, we're profession of arms. I wanted to find another career, not just a job, another career that you were a profession. It was, something that you'd have to strive for, something you'd have to work hard for, something you'd want. And that's also how I saw a career as an attorney. Like I said, I've always found criminal law very interesting. I'm currently a military police officer, but I feel that I may be more defense-oriented. Also, I think I'm empathetic towards people, too. That's probably why I like the defense perspective. The scholarship and the additional financial benefits I've received from Albany Law, it has been a huge benefit for me and my family. I remember my first class, we did the reading, didn't really understand it, and then from day one, the professor was asking questions, and you have to answer them and figure it out and make it happen. So a lot of similarities between law school and the military, which is another reason why I enjoy it.
Well, we need money to support innovations because innovation is not easy. We take some of the challenges and barriers to innovation, and we eliminate them because of our independence and because of our agility.
I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. It just kind of made sense to me then that, I should probably join the science track. It was a cool thing to do. That was what I eventually ended up doing. I studied pharmacy. It was good to know that I was actually helping people to save lives. When I joined extracurricular activities and keep records, community development, that was when I decided to think of law. I've always thought about, kind of attacking the healthcare side of things if I ever go into litigation, or, focusing on corporations that work in the healthcare area. I'm happy to be able to actually, combine everything and use it all. The greatest thing about Albany Law is the professors. I feel very grateful to a lot of people that have helped me grow from the very first day.
Albany Law has an impact on every student. It changes lives.
So growing up as a little girl in Brooklyn in a traditional Hispanic household family was everything, and I was always with my family. My uncles specifically were involved in law enforcement. I with the NYPD, having my uncles that I could look up to and pepper with questions and have them indulge me and explain how their job works and how prosecutors work was very important. Kind of set me on this path to Albany Law School. But the Albany Law Clinic and Justice Center has a few clinics, so the Community and Development Clinic, the Immigration Law Clinic, the Domestic Violence Prosecution Hybrid, the Family Litigation Clinic. And just to do that as a law student, it's incredible. I've been next to a professor grading papers who, when she sees that her student has gotten it, she goes, yes! And startles everyone in the room. But she's that invested in her students learning and knowing what's going on. After graduation, I'll be a prosecutor at the District Attorney's Office of Kings County. I am incredibly excited and honored, and I'll be home. I'll be a prosecutor at home. The importance of the donors giving back, it enhances our experience as students, and I've seen and felt the impact that has. So, I hope to be one of those alumni that gives back in whatever way I can. It's so important. I think I'm incredibly lucky to be able to, as an adult, do the one thing I always said I wanted to do as a child. I'm so grateful that, I was able to come here to Albany Law School and make that dream real.
The folks who invest in Albany Law School are investing in all of our students, and they're investing in our future. And we couldn't do this without them.
Unmuting. Here we go. So it's not a meeting until somebody tries to talk when they're muted, right? So I do just want to acknowledge that obviously we're using the Zoom platform. You've managed to make your way in here, but just a quick reminder for those who may not be as familiar with the platform, a couple of options that you have to engage today is going to be the tool buttons at the bottom. There's a chat feature where you can choose to type in the chat box, and you can send messages or comments to the group or to an individual. And there's also, if you click on the participants bar, it'll open up a list of participants, and at the bottom of that bar there should be a button where you can raise your hand. And so there'll be times where we'll ask for volunteers, or if there are questions and if you feel like you want to, you can raise your hand that way, and whoever's moderating the conversation can call upon you. So that's a couple of the ways, given that there are so many of us in the room, that's always a good way to try to stay engaged. We are recording this for the benefit of future admitted students who aren't able to join us today. So do keep that in mind. We hope that you'll still be willing to share your friendly faces with us on video, but certainly you can choose to turn off your video camera if you're not comfortable with that and you'd rather just listen and participate with your audio. My formal welcome is going to be a little bit short, but I think it's important that I say a few words before I pass it over to the other members of our community. First of all, again, for anybody that just joined, my name is Amy Mangione. I'm the Dean of Admissions, and it's great to finally meet you all here today and see so many of you today. This is a very exciting time for you and for us. It's always one of our favorite days of the year. Just because it's different does not make that any less true. So we're really glad you can join us. We know that there's been a lot of adapting going on to life in general during this pandemic. This decision to choose a law school or to enter law school is only one piece of that. There may be disappointments and distractions going on. We know there's a lot of uncertainty. I'm sorry that you're going through all of this and all of that, but we are here to support you. And I hope that today you'll see that it doesn't all have to be uncertain. There's a very real way, it's very possible for you to feel solid about your law school selection. And even if you've not had an opportunity to visit the physical campus yet, you'll meet some students later today who were able to do just that. And they're all very happy and very successful. So there's a lot that you can know and feel good about. And we hope that today we're gonna make you feel a little more sure about that. This year's application cycle has been particularly competitive. You are counted among a group of impressive peers that you'll be lucky to learn and work, live, and play beside. I do think there is room for some play in law school if you're doing it right. This is not an easy to earn a seat where you are. And so today we acknowledge you and your hard work and your accomplishments. So we'll take a second to offer you that virtual round of applause. So congratulations, welcome. There we go. Yes. So congratulations to all of you. And we also want to sort of welcome any of your guests that are with us. I always say that law school is a team sport. So to the extent that you have parents, friends, family, spouses, significant others, we're happy to have all of you join us today. I want to thank you for the confidence that you have shown in us by submitting your application. Today you'll begin to see why that confidence is well placed. This is a great time for you to begin to identify ways that we can help you achieve your individual goals, whether they are the goals that you have already openly shared with us during your application process, or those that you have even yet to realize. We can help you get there. Today and in the coming weeks, you'll have a chance to be introduced to a broad cross-section of our Albany Law family, your Albany Law family. We will highlight for you all of the great resources and opportunities available to you that are here and help you get a better sense of what to expect as you transition into your legal career. You have all received the agenda for the day. You will hear from faculty, students, alumni. You have some videos that we're mixing in, and we hope that you'll stay for the full program, but we do understand that if you have to step away here and there, we hope you'll just rejoin us as you can. I encourage you to also take some notes for yourself throughout the day. After today, you'll receive contact information with all of the presenters that you hear from. We anticipate that you may want to speak to them further. You'll have an opportunity to do that. And so if you take a note as to who you're speaking with, what the topic was, where you want those future conversations to go, I think that'll be a benefit for you later on. We'll also be hosting additional events and creating additional virtual content that will help you dive deeper into the topics that you care about and the conversations that you start today. So I think that's probably enough from me for the moment. I can't think of a better person to sort of help you start the day than our own alumna of Albany Law School and now our president and dean, Alicia Willett. Dean Willett.
Thank you, Amy. Welcome. Welcome to our accepted students. Welcome also to any support people, parents, spouses, partners, children, even the dogs on the call. Congratulations to all of you. We know how much work it takes to get to this place, to be admitted to law school, and we're thrilled to welcome you to the Albany Law community. I wish I were welcoming you in person and feeding you a nice lunch in our beautiful facilities. I bet that you wish you were able to join us in person on what is an absolutely beautiful day in Albany. I'm optimistic that time will come relatively soon. Albany County began to reopen yesterday, and we're working hard on plans for a careful and safe, flexible return to campus life in the coming weeks and months. I'll say more on that in a little bit. But I want to start by saying that we are here today and for as long as it takes to do our best to help you make a hugely important decision about law school without getting to visit in person. And we're sorry about that. We're sorry because it makes the decision harder. But we're also sorry because the distance between us today makes it a challenge to showcase our most defining feature, our community. But a little distance won't stop us. We are lawyers and future lawyers, which means we're problem solvers. So today we commit to your success. We will give you the chance to get to know our community, our programs, our people, our opportunities, and our network. And we hope that you understand and feel deeply that as a student and later as a graduate of Albany Law School, that we will remain committed to your success, giving you the tools and opportunities and support you need to launch a fabulous career. So as you may know, Albany Law School is the oldest independent law school in the country. As such, we have a rich, historic, and proud community that loves being a part of Albany Law School. We've graduated 2 Supreme Court justices, a US president, Governor Andrew Cuomo, the mayor of Albany, of Rochester, of Troy. We've graduated hundreds and hundreds of sitting judges at all levels of the bench, law firm partners, leaders in industry, health, innovation, finance, and champions for justice, for the environment, for children, for immigrants, so much more. And those leaders reach back and give back to our students, mentoring them, doing mock interviews, coaching moot court teams, showing up in classes, hiring them. It's amazing to me how loyal our alumni are. If I have an ask and I reach out, they always say yes. Albany Law loyalty is strong, and our alumni are an integral part of our community. And you'll hear from some of them later today. You'll also hear from our incredible faculty. Our faculty are not only brilliant scholars and practitioners with incredible records of out in practice. They are committed to our students' success every day. It's not at all unusual for me to walk around late at night, early in the morning, during the day, seeing faculty working one-on-one with our students. They're great in the classroom. They care about teaching, and they change it up. They meet every week, every other week, to talk about how can we be better as teachers? How can we better serve our students and make sure that our students get the best education possible? You'll meet our staff. You've met some of them already in the admissions office, Lori and Katrina and Allison and Persia and Amy, and it just starts there. The staff become family members for students. They become really close, whether it's folks in the library or in the business office or in facilities or in student affairs or the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Folks will literally give students the clothes off their back, the sweater that they need, the jacket they need for an interview. Our staff are there. They know your names. They're going to help support you and make sure you're successful. And then there are our students, and our students are just incredibly inspiring and smart and hardworking, and more than anything, caring about other members of our community. Our students, I've just in the last 2 months since we've been in this new universe, I've watched our students create community and check in on one another. While classes were going, I hosted a daily town hall session so that we were able to check in with one another, to give news, to try to figure out what's happening tomorrow, next week, next month. And we also had a chance just to get to know each other. And I got to know some of the students, and I learned that students were creating social events together. They were creating opportunities. They were creating caring groups so that they would check in on each other every day, especially for the students who were isolated and alone. You didn't have to be alone if you were an Albany Law student. There was always someone else who cared. So as a community, our students, our staff, and our faculty come together and create unparalleled opportunities for learning, for growing, for making friends, for finding mentors. Some of these opportunities are on campus. You're going to hear a lot today about our Justice Center. We're really proud of our Justice Center. The Justice Center is where our clinics are. It's a law firm, a public interest law firm right on our campus. As a student in Albany Law, you will be involved with our clinic. You will represent actual clients with real needs. You'll learn law by doing law. The clients may be immigrants in our immigration law clinic, children or families facing family violence. They may be small businesses or entrepreneurs in our community economic development clinic. You might work with a law professor and a prosecutor in a special victims unit through our DV hybrid. You may be part of our innovation intensive clinic, which pairs those folks who are interested in intellectual property law or business law or working in the innovation economy with professors and business people and scientists out of SUNY Poly and the SUNY Research Foundation. An incredible opportunity. We have more and more opportunities through our community off campus. These include field placement opportunities, internships, whether it's with a DA's office or a defender's office, whether it's with government, with a public policy group. We have more internships than we can possibly fill. Judicial placements. Do you want to work with a judge? It's an incredible opportunity and very prestigious. Every semester I have some judge who calls me and says, how come I didn't get an Albany Law student? It's because we have more opportunities than we have students to fill the opportunities. Some of the opportunities are student driven. We have dozens of clubs, affinity groups, scholarly groups, moot court organizations, and wellness and athletic activities. We have pro bono projects, student-run opportunities to serve and give back to our community. Last year's graduating class really dug into the public service and performed 52,000 hours of public service and pro bono work while they were students at Albany Law School. It's an incredible way to learn and an incredible way to be a part of the community. So I'm excited for you to get to know our community. And if it feels like it fits, and then I want you to join us in the fall. I can't wait to meet you. I want to get to know you. Before closing, I do want to come back to do my best to answer a question that's likely on your minds. And I know it's on your minds. There was chat about it before we even started. Given COVID, what are our plans for the fall? So I'll start with the caveat. Lawyers like caveats. The world was turned upside down 2 months ago. And we have had to all accept a great degree of uncertainty. But I will tell you this, we are making plans and we are planning for flexibility. We're planning to meet you where you are, where you feel safe, where you will thrive, where you will have the best possible learning experience under these unprecedented circumstances. So what does this mean? It means that we are planning to offer in-person classes, providing as many residential courses as New York State and the public health situation will allow. We also recognize that some students may not be ready for, or they may be uncomfortable with in-person classes. Some people are immunocompromised, and some people won't be ready. So we have committed to provide a remote option. Students will be able to attend all classes remotely if they so choose. We're also planning a hybrid option. Students will not be bound to all online or all residential coursework if their situations change throughout the semester. We recognize that that's a possibility. So in other words, it's our plan to deliver an excellent interactive legal education that is accessible simultaneously to both in-person and remote students. So this is a flexible, nimble approach that accommodates a wide range of needs, and I am fully confident that whatever option a student elects, our faculty will deliver an outstanding educational experience. I'm also optimistic that this plan, our Plan A, which I've just described, is realistic. With Albany County reopening yesterday, and the thoughtful work going into our planning process to incorporate social distancing and public health measures, I believe we will be back on campus in the fall in some form, socially distant, but together. Of course, the in-person option within our plan is dependent on the status of the pandemic. If the state of New York says we can open our doors, we will. We will do so safely, with measures in place to maintain the health and safety of those who wish to be on campus. And we'll do so empathetically, realizing that not all of our community members will be comfortable returning to Albany, returning physically to New Scotland Avenue. So we'll allow them to participate remotely. So that's our plan for now. I'm sure there are questions. I'll be available in the final session today to take your questions. I'll also be hosting a chat session next week. Parents, partners, friends, and support people are encouraged to attend that chat session. I and the other deans are also available to take questions by email or to Zoom in. We want to make sure that you're comfortable and you can think through what your options are, and we will be there for you. That's what we do. We are a community. So I hope that as the newest members of the Albany Law School community, you enjoy today and you get what you need out of it. I can't wait to meet you in person and to welcome you to our beautiful campus. So that's all from me for right now. Amy, back over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Dean Willett. And so I did hear, you heard me mention that you're going to meet so many of our staff, and Dean Willett sort of was kind enough to highlight some of the admissions team. And I want to actually give you a second to sort of see their faces and let them wave to you and greet you, because I know many of you have already been interacting with them so much, whether that's on the phone call or Zoom or emails. So I want to introduce you quickly to the admissions staff before we sort of got to meet some of our faculty. So we have our Assistant Director of Admissions and Director of Diversity Initiatives, Ms. Persia Wilkins. Do you want to say hello? Where are you at, Persia?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Albany Law School. We're thrilled that you're here today.
All right. Thanks, Persia. And so all of our admission staff will probably be jumping in throughout the day, but I wanted to give you a moment to at least meet some of them. We also have Assistant Director of Admissions, Allison Rosenblatt.
Hi, everyone. I see a lot of familiar names and faces, and I'm really excited. So congratulations on your acceptances, and looking forward to helping you out today and in the future.
Yes. Thanks, Allison. We have Ms. Lori Stevens, who is our admissions specialist, but quite frankly, she's just the glue that holds us all together. So she's the unforgettable Lori Stevens. So say hi, Lori.
Hi, everyone. We look forward to having you here in the fall. We're so excited to see you today.
Awesome. Thank you. And then last but not least, we have Miss Katrina Allen. Katrina is our newest member of our admissions staff, but she is absolutely critical. And none of you would have been able to have a completed application to even be reviewed without going through Katrina first. So say hi, Katrina.
Hi, guys. It was nice meeting you guys virtually and communicating with you guys consistently. And welcome to Albany Law School.
Great. Thanks. So as I mentioned, you'll get to see and hear from them throughout the summer and in the coming months. We're all excited to work with you, and they may be participating in the conversation throughout the day, but we're really glad to start to get to put some faces with some names, so I hope that you'll feel the same. Next on the agenda, we have a panel of faculty that you'll get to meet and speak with, so I hope that you all came with your questions. So Professor Brescia is going to be our moderator for the day. So I think that they have so much good information that it would be silly for me to stand here and start to give you their resume. I'll let each of them introduce themselves because there's just way too much good stuff to get to. So Professor Brescia, the floor is yours.
Great. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I echo the sentiments have been expressed already, both welcoming you to Albany in this virtual context, but also heartfelt congratulations. You've worked hard to get to a place where you're making choices about law schools, and our goal is to give you what information you need for you to make a good decision about whether Albany Law is right for you. So we've got a great faculty panel. We've also got additional faculty who are in the meeting now. So at any point, if anyone wants to jump in, they're welcome to do so. But I've got Ted DiBarbieri, Sarah Rogerson, Christian Sundquist, Dean Connie Mayer, and Louis Jim, who are the formal members of the panel. But I've also got Professor Maloney and Dean Haynes, who are also here. So we're all going to be available to really answer your questions. I'm going to start with some questions of my own to just talk about the the Albany Law experience from the perspective of a faculty member. We sort of call this session, what to expect when you're accepted. We'll talk to you about, our thoughts about, what it means to be an Albany Law student, our philosophy of teaching, of service, of scholarship, what the experience is like at Albany Law School. And so really the right place to start is with our innovative lawyering program, which is one of the first things that you'll experience as a student. So I'm going to kick it over to my colleague, Louis Jim, who can explain the lawyering program, the year-long program that first-year students go through. And Professor Maloney, you're welcome to chime in as well. So Professor Jim, why don't you speak up a little bit?
Well, thank you, and welcome to the virtual Albany Law School, and hope to see you all soon. I'll very likely have some of you in my class next year. And I think of the lawyering program as, this is where we want to train you to think through the processes of what a lawyer does at their job. That's why it's called a lawyering program. Other schools call it legal writing, other legal communication, but it's more than that. This is the class where we don't focus on, say, just torts, just contracts, or just property. but we focus on everything because my goal at the end of the semester is that you're able to do well in all of your classes because of what you've learned in lawyering. We will teach you how to write, that is a big portion of it, but more importantly, we teach you how to think and to think through the process. We teach you the skills so that you don't just do well in your exams, but that's so that you also do well when you do your internships over the summer or even when you graduate. And I like to think of doing that from the first day of law school. That's my goal for the program, and I know all the lawyering professors have a similar philosophy. We have a different approach, but the goal is the same, and that's to train you to be lawyers from day one.
And the format of the class, it's not a traditional large format, 60 students in a big lecture hall. Tell us about the format of the class.
Right. So there's only roughly 20 students in each section. We each teach 2 sections, but your class will only have 20 people, and you're numbered sections 1 through however many sections we decide. But you stay with that class through all of them. You stay with that section through the whole year. I'm one of the 3 first-year professors that you will have for the whole year. So we really get to know each other. You develop a sense of community in a smaller section than you might have in say, like a larger lecture hall type of class. But you do develop a sense of identity with your own section, a sense of camaraderie that's different. You really do get to know each other, not just as classmates, but also as friends. Most of your friendships will probably be in your section in your first year because that's who you're exposed to the most. In a smaller section, your professor gets to know you better because I only have 20 or 40 total, but individually 20 in each section, and we have a lot of we meet individually. People stop in my hallway. I'm right on the first floor where you line up for a lot of your classes. So I do get to know you, and all the lawyering professors I think get to know you very well, and that's what the small sections foster.
Great. Thanks, Professor Jim. So Dean Mayer, can you round out the rest of the first year curriculum? We do, we have the smaller, tightly knit lawyering classes, but we do have the traditional classes like most schools. So can you tell folks what the rest of the first year program looks like, Dean Mayer?
Of course. So the rest of the program does consist of the foundational courses that you all are going to need in order to go on to the upper division. These are the courses that really form the basis for everything else you're going to take in law school. And the other thing that's important about them is they are the courses that are tested on the bar, among other subject matters, but everything that you take in your first year will be tested on the bar. And that's why we consider them foundational, really core courses. And so I'm glad, though, we started with lawyering because that really does set the tone for what we do at Albany Law School. We're we have a lot of experiential opportunities for you. And the fact that they start in the first year, I think, is really important. The other courses you'll be taking, though, are in the fall: civil procedure, torts, contracts, and property. So 4, as I say, very basic courses. Actually, hopefully I'll have some of you too. I'm teaching civil procedure, as is Professor Brescia. So between the 2 of us, you guys are going to see us a lot in the fall. And then in the spring, I also teach crim law, which is a first year course, a second semester of property and contracts and constitutional law. So again, you get a very good grounding in what we consider the core courses. But along the way, you also get to take this year-long lawyering course that kind of ties everything together and puts it in context in a way that I think is really interesting and really helps you as you move forward. Obviously, in your second year, you can go on and take clinics and all of the other experiential courses that we have. And I know there are some folks here who are going to talk about the clinic too. But that's really the basics for your first year. Those other courses are taught in bigger sections. So again, the advantage of lawyering is it's a small section, about 20 people. The other courses are taught in sections of about 60. But I think all of us really make an effort to break the class down into smaller groups for group work and problem-solving exercises that we do in the classroom to try to not just throw black letter law at you. We want you to know what the law is, of course, but we want you to know how to apply it. How do you apply this law in order to solve a legal problem that an actual client has? And so that's really the method of teaching that we use. It's not just straight lecture. We use a lot of formative assessment, group projects, and a lot of, I think, very innovative teaching, and particularly innovative for law school. So I think you'll really enjoy your first year with us. We're going to make it fun.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Dean Mayer. And so, you know, when you get out of the first year, your first year curriculum is pretty much set for you, and that's true in most law schools. But then when you get to the second year, you can start taking electives, and you can start doing field placement and clinics. So I'm going to ask first to hear from Professor Sundquist to talk about some of the classes he teaches to upper level students, your second and third year students. And then we've got a couple of clinical faculty, and they'll talk about the clinical opportunities and volunteer opportunities. So Professor Sundquist, if you wouldn't mind, would you give us a little sense of what the second and third year looks like, and what the, some of the classes that you teach to second and third year students?
Sure thing. So congratulations, everyone. So happy to see you virtually, but that's still exciting too, at least for me. I've come to really love this Zoom thing. I don't know about you. But in any event, I've taught a variety of courses over my decade plus time at Albany Law, which has all been wonderful. I teach evidence, which is a required course in the fall of your second year. So you might see me then. I also just started teaching 1Ls, crim law, in the spring. So you might see me a little bit earlier. Aside from that, I teach immigration law. I teach advanced evidence. I really like evidence, as you can tell. I teach, I've taught federal courts in the past. I've taught some advanced constitutional law seminars relating to issues of social inequality. And I also teach information privacy, which is clearly fairly important in today's world. Aside from that, in terms of your second year and your third year, you probably have heard all the sort of mantras or the rules of thumb as to what to expect. But I'll say that, there's a lot of opportunity for you to explore and try to find the areas that you're really interested in, and recognize that your interests may change, right? You may start off in law school thinking, oh, I really want to do litigation. I want to be in the courtroom. I want to do civil litigation or what have you. And you take a few courses, you have a few experiences, a few internships, whatever it happens to be, and your shifts may change. And that's great, of course. But in your second and third year, that will provide you with the opportunity to really explore what you're interested in and ramp up your skill level in those areas.
And so you also get involved in the scholarly life at the law school. You're our director of research. We're going to come back to that and sort of talk about how students can get involved in faculty research, and students can do research on their own. But I want to hear from our clinical faculty. Let's start with Professor Rogerson. So can you tell us what a clinic is and what the clinical experience at Albany Law School is like?
Sure, thanks. And hello, everybody. I'm Professor Rogerson. I teach in the clinic. I direct our immigration law clinic, and it's one of our in-house programs. What do we mean by that? By the time you get to the clinic, you're really ready to apply your theory and put it into practice. So you'll be introduced to actual clients. You are sworn into the limited supervised practice of law by an actual judge, and you get to be a lawyer for a semester on the front lines, And now more than ever, the work that we're going to be doing is going to impact our community in ways that you just can't possibly imagine right now. Clinical education is actually what inspired me ultimately to become a professor, my clinical experience, because it was the first time that I could really apply the skills that I had learned in law school towards another person's life. And in that case, it was a life-saving experience. The first client I ever represented was an asylum seeker from the Republic of Congo. So this is an experience in law school that really is special to all of us, that Albany Law School values and cherishes. And our program is older than a lot of the programs that you'll find at other law schools. Ours started about 30 years ago. Before clinical legal education was cool, Albany Law School was already experimenting with it, working with prisoners' rights, actually. And a lot of the clinics that we have ended up becoming full-fledged community programs that are long-standing and now receive millions of dollars of federal and state funding. So things that students do in the clinic reverberate for years after they're gone. And I can go on more about that later, but I'll tell you one story, which is a couple of students told me that they had heard in some volunteer work that they were doing with some nuns in the local jail, that there were immigrants being held in that jail. And did I know that? And I said, well, no, I did not. And they said, well, let's figure it out. Let's go investigate. And they did. And we built relationships over time, and students volunteered with that program. And 6 years later, when the federal government decided to bring 350 people from the border and leave them in the Albany County Jail, we were able to give a response that received nationwide attention in terms of helping those people out and getting over 90% of them to pass through a successful process and getting the vast majority of them out of immigration detention. And students, that started with a student idea in a clinic. And it was clinical students who worked on that, and clinical students who responded in the moment of crisis, and clinical students who are doing work that was inspired by that. So that is, in a nutshell, sort of what Albany Law School brings to the table in terms of a clinical program. And I'll talk more, maybe Professor DeBarbieri can chime in and tell you more about the other programs that we have. But it's really an experience that can't be beat. And you can take it multiple times under our program. There are ways to build on that. And we can also talk about Pro Bono Scholars program in a bit.
Do students have to wait till their third year to take a clinic?
They do not. You can take the clinic as soon as your first semester of your second year. We're always looking for ways that first year students can dip a toe in the water, maybe figure out through a pro bono project if they have an area of interest that they'd really like to build and develop in the clinic. But our goal is to teach you skills that actually could be used in a public interest setting, but also in a corporate law firm. So the clinic isn't just for students who are interested in a career in public interest, although we absolutely have place for you to be mentored and guided on your career path. But it's really actually essential for every student in the law school to be able to participate in a type of experiential learning like the clinic, like our field placement program, and like our semester in practice program.
Wonderful, thank you. Professor DeBarbieri, can you describe both your clinic and then the pro bono program that you run to go off on what Professor Rogerson said about students being able to do volunteer work even in their first year. So tell us about the Community Development Clinic, and then tell us about the pro bono work you do, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be with everyone. And so the Community Economic Development Clinic is our transactional in-house clinic where students in their second and third year, like Professor Rogerson said, work with live clients, small businesses and nonprofits on a variety of transactional and business law needs. And I'll also mention in the current COVID crisis moment that students have had opportunities to contribute to actual clients that are facing hardships at the moment. I'm going to share a page on the law school website now. Folks should be able to see it currently that document, or that's an opportunity that our clinic this past semester in the spring, students prepared 3 presentations around commercial leasing issues. And I'm not going to go into them here, but at least it's on the law school page. So this was an opportunity for students to talk directly to small businesses and nonprofits that were facing issues with the state's pause order about not being able to operate their businesses from their brick and mortar locations. And so this was just one example of how students in the clinic working with small businesses and nonprofits could provide real world support to businesses that were dealing with the pandemic. I'll stop the share just with respect to that. Around pro bono, and I guess I'll say briefly, I do research around economic development issues and affordable housing. We mentioned, sort of like folks looking for roommates now. Affordable housing issues are a big deal for, as we know, in our cities in the capital region and beyond. We work with folks on issues related to affordable housing and economic development too. With respect to pro bono, we have a robust pro bono society that's student-led, and Dean Willett mentioned the 52,000 hours, which is just an incredible contribution that the class of 2019 made when they graduated, and the class of 2020 had a very similar substantial commitment and contribution. The ways that first-year students can get involved are sort of several-fold. We have law day events where we bring individual clients to campus to get assistance from lawyers on a volunteer basis and law students. In the fall, typically we do a veterans event that we're planning for this November upcoming. And in the spring, typically we do a senior citizen event. And there's a decent overlap between those two communities, veterans who are in the senior community and seniors who identify as having served. There's ways that students can meet clients even in your first year. So, you're learning lawyering with Professor Jim, you're taking civil procedure with Dean Mayer or Professor Brescia, maybe an additional class with Professor Sundquist, and you want to actually apply it to what does this actually mean to an individual. You can get involved in a pro bono law day event in a very limited capacity. So you go to a training and you show up on a particular day. We've been doing, during the pandemic, we've been doing those some clinic events remotely, or some brief advice events remotely, but we also are working on our planning for the fall too. So that's just a couple of examples of both the Community Economic Development Clinic and the Pro Bono program. I'm going to stop there.
Professor.
Sorry, yep. I'm going to talk a little bit now about some other programming that we have. Dean Mayer introduced the idea of our field placement program. And when you get to your second year, and certainly you could do it in your third year as well, you can participate in our extensive field placement program. We place students all throughout the capital region, in the, from the governor's office to the attorney general's office, to lots of state agencies and other entities throughout the capital region. We are the law school for the capital region. And as you can imagine, with the capital of the state of New York, there's a lot of law going on, and our students can get involved in that right away and have some really exciting opportunities. But we also have some interesting programming that goes beyond the capital region. So we've got the semester in practice program and the city semester program, both of which allow our students to work, whether it's on a full-time basis or a more limited basis, outside the capital region. So we have sent students to Washington and New York City, Tennessee, The Hague, all over the place. Students are able to get if it's in the semester in practice program, a semester's worth of academic credit for doing a field placement outside the capital region. It's a great way to build your professional network. Maybe even live at home for a semester to save a little bit on room and board. We also have this, what we call the city semester, where you don't have to earn a full, 15 or so credits of academic credit for doing this work. You could work on a part-time basis and then choose from our extensive menu of online classes to fill out the semester. So again, it can be an opportunity to build a network, to have an internship opportunity outside the capital region, see what it's like to live and work in Washington or New York City, and still get your academic credit. And you do it during the school year. So it's not, if you, in the summer, you'll have your internships, a lot of competition for those positions in the summer. But when you do it during the school year, you have a much better chance of landing one of those plum placements. And we've had students work in the White House under both the Trump administration and the Obama administration, the Department of Justice, Pfizer, the NYPD, so many really interesting placements for our students. And it's really something that sets Albany Law School apart from many other schools. Now, we also do other things on the upper level programming. And I'm going to turn back to Dean Mayer, and then I really want to turn it over to your questions. But I want to ask Dean Mayer, can you talk about things like, our concentrations, independent studies, and other things like that help students round out their education? Dean Mayer, you're still with us? Got to unmute. There you go. Okay. Oh, you just muted yourself again. Right,
I'm sorry. We have 17 areas of concentration. So if you're interested in a particular area of law, it's likely that we have a concentration in that area. Probably our most popular areas are business law, crim law, government law, but we do have 17 different areas of concentration. And they require that you take 5 courses in that particular area of the law and write a substantial research paper. But you also are required to do some kind of an experiential opportunity. So a clinic or a field placement also in that particular area. And not everybody wants to concentrate. It's not something you have to do. But if you come to law school and you know that you have an interest in criminal law and that's the path you're going to follow, then that concentration might be something that you really want to look at. The pathways are a little bit broader than our concentrations, and the concentrations are kind of embedded in the pathways. The pathways are an idea that if you're interested in a particular area of law, you can follow the pathway and also pick up, in addition to the academic part of it, co-curricular activities that also feed into that particular area of practice that you're interested in. There's a career planning piece so that you're connected with our alums who are practicing that area, so that we kind of bring you through your law school journey kind of connected to that area of practice that you're interested in. We also have 16 or 17 dual degree programs so that you can earn your JD and an MBA, for example, in just taking either one semester, sometimes 2 semesters. We have a JD and a master's in criminal justice, master's in history, a master's in social work, master's in public health, master's in bioethics. So we have a number of those, and those are things that you can look at toward the end of your first year if you're interested in earning that second degree along the way. You can do it cheaper and quicker than if you tried to do the 2 degrees separately, because 12 of your credits will transfer toward your law degree from the master's program and vice versa. So you're able to double count some credits. And so again, if you have an interest in specializing in an area or earning that second degree, there are some great opportunities at Albany Law School to be able to do that.
Great, thanks, Dean Mayer. And some of the other things, we could talk about if you have questions about, our Government Law Center, which is really a flagship institution within the law school, the work of our Center for Excellence in Law Teaching, the work of the law reviews. But I really want to hear from you and see what sort of questions you might have. I haven't noticed anything in the chat or any hands go up, but I want to turn it over to you all to see what sort of questions you might have and questions that we can try to answer.
So yeah, everybody, you have a few different options. You can unmute yourself and just jump in if you'd like to turn your little microphone button on, or you can use the raise hand function, or you can type in the chat box. We'll sort of keep an eye out for you any which way. So we're happy to continue talking to you. We know that we have a lot of information that you want, but we want to make sure we're being responsive. So we'd really love to know that we're talking about things that you care about and that you're going to find helpful as you move forward in the next few months. So please don't be shy. We have Joshua has raised his hand.
Yes. I've had a lot of friends, family, and whatnot ask about my focus in law. Is that something I'm going to have to decide sort of what law I want to do before I get on campus, or sort of what's the timetable when I need to sort of think about that?
Dean Mayer, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. You don't actually have to start thinking about it until toward the end of your first year, or even at the very beginning of your second year. If you're interested in one of the dual degree programs where you're earning 2 degrees, that you usually need to decide toward the end of your first year, because you have to apply to the other school and become admitted. And then the way it works is your second year of law school, you actually spend off campus on the campus of where the master's program is being offered. We have a lot of dual degree programs with the University of Albany, but we also have programs with Siena and Albany Medical College and Clarkson University, College of St. Rose, and some of the other local institutions. So for the dual degree program, usually you have to seek admission around March or April of your first year. If you're interested in concentrating, though, you have more time to think about that. If you decide to concentrate even in the fall semester of your second year, you're fine. You'll be able to get it done.
And you don't have to concentrate in anything. You can be a generalist. You can graduate the law school without taking any specialized courses. You're probably going to want to, but it's not like or you have to choose a major for an undergraduate degree. You can choose a concentration or not. Dean Willett, did you want to jump in too?
I did. So I love your question, Joshua, because so many students come in thinking that having no idea what they want to do, and then so many students come in thinking they know exactly what they want to do, and you're all wrong. And you're wrong even when you graduate. The great thing about the law degree is that you can do so many things with it. But one of the things that I found when I was a student at Albany Law School, I sort of had this fantasy, and anyone who knows me will think it's ridiculous, but I thought I wanted to be a prosecutor. And so I did a field placement at the Albany County DA's office, and it was the best thing I ever did, because I absolutely should never be a prosecutor. I was a terrible, it was a great experience. I learned it, and I was able to then pivot and do the things that made much more sense in my practice career. And you'll find that. And I also get the opportunity to talk to a lot of our alumni around the country. And I always ask, what did you think you were going to do when you were in law school? And they'll say, oh, I was absolutely sure I was going to do health law, and I majored in health law and I haven't touched it, or I was going to be so don't worry if you don't know. You'll have career guide, you'll have academic advisors and professional advisors, and we'll help set you up so that you've got enough skills that you can pivot. And when the opportunity comes to be a prosecutor, if you didn't think you were going to be, you'll be able to do that.
Thank you.
Dean Willett, I'm going to have you respond to a question we've got in the chat from Brittany Renee Rios, who asks, she was wondering when we would have to make the final decision whether we want to do strictly remotely, partly, or on campus. If attending Albany Law, I will be moving from California. Also, is there a date that you think the campus will be open to visit before fall, or is it even a possibility?
So all good questions. So let me go through them in order. In terms of deciding how you want to do your fall, if it goes according to plan, and we have this flexible option where we have in-person classes that you can also attend remotely, it really will be up to you. I mean, if you want to get housing, if you need to move from California and get housing, I mean, you'll need a little bit of lead time. If you want to do the in-person option. If you know right now you want to attend Albany Law School, which we hope you do, and you want to play it safe and you want to be remote, we made that decision. We're making that commitment. We're investing in the technology so all of our classrooms will be interactive. That's the one thing we know for sure. But I actually anticipate that things will change for individuals. You may start in person and then get sick, I hate to say, or have a situation where you need to go remote. And what we're building is a really flexible plan so that you can change as the situation dictates and as public health dictates. So is there a date that I think that the campus will be open to visit before fall, or is it even a possibility? So I do think it's a possibility. I'm spending a lot of time on planning and working with the county on its plans and when will we be able to do that. As soon as we're able to, we will invite you to come to campus. We're very concerned about our students who are studying for the bar, so that will be the group that gets the first entrance to the building. Because we really want them to be able to use our library and our facilities. But the way that the reopening plan is working is that higher ed is going to be able to have, where it functions like a business, it's going to be able to open those functions along with the businesses. So I had heard some chat before about how education's in phase 4, the phases go every 2 weeks, so that puts us out 6 more weeks. If all goes according to plan, but that's the classroom part. So the visiting part may happen sooner if we're able to couch that as part of what other businesses do. So we'll let you know. We are doing a lot of, we're trying to be very transparent and very clear with you even though some of that is unclear. So I hope that's helpful. I'm happy to take follow-ups.
Thank you, Dean Willett. I also want to jump in really quickly, and I know that Ben posted in the chat, there is a link to our accepted students page where we have tried to do our best to bring the law school to you. So there's virtual tours of the physical space. There's also a lot of interview and sort of spotlight type content with members of the community, students. There's podcasts and blog posts, and there's our student ambassadors that you can reach out to directly, our faculty bios where you can reach out to them directly. So we certainly appreciate that coming to visit is important, but in the event that it's not, I don't think that it's impossible for you to still get access to that same type of feel. You'll be able to see what the spaces feel like. Imagine if you were to be comfortable there, that sort of thing. So I encourage you to use the website too, and then reach out to the individuals listed there to flesh out those conversations.
Great. Thanks, Dean Mangione. So we have a couple of hands raised. So Ms. Kataki, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you have your hand raised.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for having me here. And I just have a question regarding the externships and clinics that are available. So what are the requirements to be selected for those like specific clinics, and like, are we supposed to have the experiences in the first year and then we can apply? So I just want to know about that.
Professors Rogerson or DeBarbieri, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so When we're looking to admit students into the clinic, and there's a separate application process for the clinic, but when we do that, we're not as concerned about the experiences that you've had in the past. We're more interested in looking at what you want to build for your future. And then we identify your goals at the beginning of the semester and work based on your learning objectives as they change and develop over the course of the semester too. I find a lot of times students think that they're weak in an area, and then the first 3 weeks of clinic, they like knock it out of the ballpark, and then they have to change their goal because they realize they had a strength that they didn't realize. So the application process is, we try to streamline it and make it as easy as possible. It's before regular registration in order, because it's 5 or 6 credit chunks that you'll take a clinic for. So that's a big chunk of your schedule. So we try to do it, we do it the week or 2 before regular registration so that you have a clear answer from a clinic or field placement or our hybrid clinic, which is both in-house and a field placement component. I'm getting in the weeds a little bit here, but I think you're asking about all of those experiences, and it's the same application, a similar application process for all of them. For semester and practice, actually, Professor Brescia, you could probably speak to that. That works a little bit differently.
Yeah, so with semester in practice, we work with you to find your placement. Same thing with field placement. Some of them are listed on the law school's website, and we do a sort of matching program, or there can be an organization you want to work at and they've never hosted anybody. We'll make a call, and most of the time the organization, you're calling and saying, hey, would you like a law student to volunteer with you? And many organizations are eager to have Albany law students work with them. So, there isn't a, we're not looking, as Professor Rogerson said, we're not looking to say only if you've had extensive experience working with, immigrants will we let you into the immigration clinic. No, it doesn't work that way, not at all. We know that you're here to get the experience, and we welcome people who are trying to get the experience. Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bevan, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name. I'm so sorry. But Bevan has a question.
Yeah, I actually have 2 questions, if that's all right. The first thing is about the specialties. Are you allowed to have multiple specialties?
Yes.
Okay.
We have multiple concentrations. Some of the concentrations, the class requirements are similar, so you could count a class for 2 different concentrations, but we definitely have students who have more than 1 concentration.
The second thing is, recently Governor Cuomo made a comment saying that we could continue with remote learning even after the COVID pandemic is kind of out of the way, just kind of like a modernizing the classroom. Do you anticipate possibly incorporating that with residential classes in the future, like possibly keeping the remote learning?
Well, I can jump in here, or if Dean Haynes is still on the call. A couple of years ago, we sought to expand our flexibility for our students by having more classes online. I don't think that's going to change. So we have a number of classes that are strictly online, and so students can complement their other traditional work, or they can do more field placements, they can do a semester in practice or city semester. So we had already started to expand our online offerings to give students more flexibility. We were ranked as the most flexible graduate program in the country. I think I have that right, Dean Millett. I don't know if you want to correct me, but the online component gives you that flexibility to have more field placements, to have a more varied experience. So we had already started to go down the road of having more classes online. We also have hybrid classes that are a blend of online and in person. So I really don't think we're going back. And as I said, we had started this process before the most recent pandemic. Dean Willett, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, I think we had already started doing the online, and we were learning a lot. And but we are, for the JD program, we are an ABA accredited school, and we have students. Most of our students want to be admitted in the New York State to practice, and the New York Court of Appeals does require residential classes. So right now, we have no plans to be a fully online JD program. So I think it's all about flexibility, right? You know, I believe you will all be doing some classes at Albany Law, hopefully sooner rather than later. But you will have those options. So that you can kind of shape your learning, whether you want to do a semester away or do a semester's worth of online courses. Right now, our accreditors and the Court of Appeals are giving flexibility. So we're in this position that, you know, should we need to be all online in the fall, it's going to be fine. It's not the way we are hoping to do it, but if we do it, and we're training our faculty have been amazing at sort of how do we do this best and what can we learn, and very, very interactive in their classes with the students. So we'll see.
Did that answer your questions, Bevan?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Other questions? Okay, so I've got a question. Professor Sundquist, can you talk about how students can get involved in faculty research initiatives?
Certainly. So there are many ways to get involved with faculty research, but also to just be a part of the broader intellectual community of the law school itself, right? And I think if you look at the work that our faculty are doing, that the work that our students are doing, we're all trying to find solutions to really important and often very complex social and legal issues that impact us all. And so that's what we're devoted on, this idea of engaged scholarship, right? Scholarship that can help your community, scholarship that can help the world. And the scholarship that our faculty and students produce is quite diverse. We have a number of faculty who publish for the bar on New York legal issues. We have faculty that publish on international issues, on national issues, gender theory, immigration, social justice, and so forth. And our students in particular, I think, impact our scholarship by participating in the many very important scholarly discussions that we have throughout the year, whether virtually or in person, and by providing opportunities for students to talk about these really important and interesting legal issues with experts in their fields, right? Through conferences, symposia, our new First Mondays initiative, which has been really great, spearheaded by, and Ted, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that in a second, a couple of our faculty, which allows, the entire community to come together to have an important and serious discussion about, the pandemic and health issues that that may be related to that and so forth. Our upper level writing requirement, which I'll talk about a little bit in more detail, where you get to work one-on-one with a faculty member in producing your own scholarship on an issue of your choosing. And hopefully next spring we'll be able to offer an event which I've really loved, and that is a celebration of student scholarship that you produce throughout the year, and that's really fun to hear your ideas. But you also have a lot of opportunities to collaborate on writing projects with faculty, and Professor Brescia is one example of that. He's had a number of students throughout the years collaborate on him and serve as co-authors for articles that are actually published, and even opportunities to serve as research assistants. So this summer, For example, I'm hiring 4 student research assistants, which is going to be a lot of fun to, research on topics as diverse as public health surveillance in light of COVID-19, or Fourth Amendment issues relating to the Google / Apple contact tracing app that was recently announced, and so forth. So there are a lot of opportunities to be intellectually curious on campus and to express that either verbally, but also through writing projects in conjunction with your faculty members.
Great, thank you, Professor Sundquist. We have a question, but it's already been answered, but I'll elaborate on it a little bit. So from Keenan Loader, what determines how many credits a field placement will account for? Professor Rogerson has responded, field placements are typically for 5 credits, but a 3-credit option is also available. It depends on the type of placement. Generally speaking, you get 1 credit for every 3 hours a week you work in your field placement. So if you work 15 hours, you would get 5 credits. With the city semester and semester in practice, students work more hours and get more academic credit. For semester in practice, you work 33 hours a week over the course of the semester, and you'll get 11 credits for that. Then you get 1 credit for a classroom component that's done remotely. Same thing with city semester, although that's flexible. We've got students who work 27 hours a week and get 9 credits, or 18 hours a week and get 6 credits. So it can vary. The field placement program generally, I believe, is 15 hours and 5 credits. Then the semester practice and city semester will be more. So Professor DiBarbieri wants to talk about the First Mondays. This is another way that students can get involved in the academic life in the community. So Professor DiBarbieri, take it away.
Thanks. Professor Sundquist mentioned First Mondays program, which is something that we started this past academic year with myself and Professor Pat Rehan, as well as additional members of the faculty. We've continued the program remotely as well. So we've had some admitted students participate, and we'll continue to do that throughout the course of the summer. Briefly, it's an opportunity for current and admitted students to talk about a business or political issue through a legal lens. In the past year, we've talked about eminent domain and the border wall as that issue heated up about, towards the end of last summer and early fall. We talked about the opioid crisis and the impact of bankruptcy on states and municipalities that are suing around that public health issue. And most recently, we talked about the CARES Act and the congressional response to the pandemic. So that's another opportunity. I kind of subtitled that program as opportunities to come up with upper level writing requirement papers or notes, because there's a lot of interesting topics that we delve into more deeply. So yeah, that's another program that helps balance out and create space for intellectual conversations on campus and remotely.
So we've got a couple of more questions in the chat. How accessible, oh, someone's responding to that one. So what are the benefits of being selected for the Government Law Center Fellowship? Does one of the faculty members want to take that on? Dean Willett, do you want to talk about the GLC Fellowship?
Sure. GLC Fellowship is a great opportunity for students who are interested in public service, and it's an you submit an application, and if you're selected as a GLC Fellow, you will have opportunities to meet with folks who work in government, whether from across kinds of government, big, local, state, federal. You'll have special access to the state capitol, to, New York makes a lot of law that the nation follows. So very, very great connections and networking opportunities, and also an educational component. If you stay on as a government law fellow through your second and third year, there's a curriculum you can follow where you'll take a course in government law and really be able to graduate with all the sort of knowledge and skills necessary to have a life in public service. The students, this year, every single student who was a GLC fellow in the first year applied to continue and was accepted to continue as a second year student. So they're finding it really to be really meaningful. Great opportunities for internships and jobs come out of it. So Professor Ava Ayers runs that program. She's not with us today, but is very responsive to email. And if anyone wants to learn more, I'd be happy to put you in touch with Professor Ayers.
Okay, other questions? Dean Mayer, can you talk to students about, prospective students about our unique academic advising program?
Sure, I'd be happy to. When you come to Albany Law School on your very first day and actually during orientation, you will meet your faculty advisor. So everyone is assigned a faculty advisor who will work with you throughout the first year. And usually your faculty advisor, in addition to just meeting with you at orientation and working with you a little bit during orientation, will touch base with you throughout that first semester and meet with you as a group and also as individuals, just to see how you're doing, to give you some advice on starting to prepare for final exams. And then obviously in the spring semester, your faculty advisor will meet with you individually to help you plan, not just for registration in the fall, because at this point, you really need to, if you can, plan ahead a little bit more. And so the faculty advisor will work with you to at least plan out your next year's worth of courses and talk to you about what your interests are in terms of clinical opportunities and field placements and some of the innovative apprenticeship programs that we have at the law school. At the end of your first year, you go into WebAdvisor and you're able to select your own advisor. So you can stay with the faculty member who's been advising you, or if you have forged a relationship with another faculty member who maybe is practicing in an area or teaches in an area that you're interested in, you can select that person to be your advisor. But it is it's a good program. It's rigorous. Faculty, I think everybody will say faculty are very open and accessible, and they really are there to help you. And I don't know if you all had a similar experience in undergrad, but I know at least neither of my kids had great advising when they were in undergraduate school. Their faculty advisor hardly met with them, and if they did, they didn't understand the rules well enough to give very good advice. So we actually have a manual for our faculty, and we've done training, and again, the faculty are just very open and accessible and willing and happy to help you make decisions, both about academic issues, but also about your personal life. They become something of just a general counselor to you. So I think it's a great program. I think you'll enjoy it.
Thank you, Dean Mayer. So there was a question about when to apply for the GLC Fellowship, and that is after classes begin for first years. So that's something that you don't have to worry about right away, but I would definitely encourage you to consider applying. I'm looking for other questions. I don't see any other hands raised. Dean Mangione, do you want to take over?
I'm sure that I can. I was deeply engaged in the chat, so I apologize. I was sort of like my focus was over here. I have dual monitors, so I'm not just staring off into space, I promise. So I want to thank everybody in our faculty panel and certainly all of our students. That's the kinds of engagement that we were hoping for we know that these conversations are so much more meaningful when we're talking about the things that you actually have on the top of your brain. So thank you to all of our participants. Thank you so much to our faculty for all of that great intel. As I did mention before, I think it's worth reiterating that I will be sending a follow-up email to all participants with the contact information for all of these faculty that you met today. So if you want to engage deeper, or you have questions about things that you heard from them, or just want to get to know them better, you'll be able to contact them easily, and they're all super open to that, I happen to know. So we will say thank you for now. They may be back around this afternoon, and other faculty member will be back around sort of as we close our event. But for now, we'll say thank you, and we will move into our next section of panelists. Thank you, everybody. I love all the waves. So next up, we have our student panelists. So moderating our student panel will be our Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Professor. We have Dean Queenan. I know that she is in the room, and we have a whole sort of panel, a whole slew of current students, first years, second year, third years, students that are on the verge of graduating, moments away, and those who have recently passed the bar. We've got just a whole sort of crew for you. So I'm sure that they're eager to talk to you, and you're eager to talk to them. So Dean Queenan,
yes.
The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dean Mangione. Congratulations to all of you on your admission to Albany Law School. And so I don't know if you've seen videos of the school, but here it is. I'm sitting in front of it, it is such a beautiful place, and I hope that you will join us in the fall and you'll be able to see it in person. But I think this panel will give you a little bit of a flavor from the student perspective. So as Dean Mangione said, I am the Dean of Students. I'm also on the faculty at the law school. I've been at the law school since 2007, and I am a New York City transplant. I know there were some questions about traveling to New York City, and it is quite easy to do. And actually, when I first moved here, I commuted, believe it or not, to my job in New York City. Until I realized I really needed to stop doing that. And of course I had an opportunity to teach here, which has been awesome. I mean, I feel very lucky. I love my job, and most particularly because of the work I get to do with the students. So, what I'll just tell you is that the Student Affairs Office is responsible for orientation, and we are already working on orientation, and you will hear more from us about that. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about what I do, except to tell you that the office is here to support you throughout your law school time. And what we do is we just try to provide you the best student experience and support along the way. But what you really, you'll get a much better understanding of all of this from our wonderful student panel. So first I want to thank them for being here. We had, as always, a really good response to reaching out for students to participate. And I want to let you know that today was the last day of exams. So I think most of them are here, but we offered a little pass just in case they needed to take the day. And particularly the 1Ls, the first year students took their last final, their property final today. So congratulations to all of you on that. And as Dean Mangione said, we have some graduates actually on the call. So thank you all for taking the time to be here to share information about your experiences. So I'm gonna ask them questions. I don't know if any of the admitted students have heard of the cold call. I'm gonna do a little bit of a warm call. I'm just gonna call on them randomly to answer questions, but feel free to raise your Zoom hand or put a question in the chat, and I can kind of multitask, but I'm not great at it, so I'm told that Ben Myers and Dean Mangione will help me out with that. But we're gonna leave time for at the end for questions, but if you have a question you wanna ask, feel free to ask it. So I'm gonna start by I'm gonna actually call on them to introduce themselves. So I'm just gonna call all of them out individually and ask them to share where they're from, and where they were before they came to Albany Law School. So you'll find that some of our students come right from undergrad, but it's very common for students to take a year off. Some of them have work backgrounds. So I think it's good for you to understand the diversity from that perspective of the student body. Okay, so as I said, I believe Katie Daniels is here. Hi, Katie. So Katie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I can. Congrats to everybody who's been admitted to Albany Law School. I am originally from Phoenix, Arizona, but I graduated undergrad in Albany 4 years ago and was in corporate sales for 4 years. And I have now decided, well, I'm now officially done with my 1L year.
Congratulations, Katie. So I don't know, is Matt Walsh here?
Yeah.
You are. I see you. Hi, Matt.
I just came in. Yeah, so I actually just took my property exam today, so it's been a long one. But
nice.
So I'm originally from Vermont, but I went to college down in Florida, and I just barely graduated last year, so I'm fresh into law school right out of college. And yeah, it's a great place here.
Thanks, Matt. Albert, is Albert here? Okay. All right, we're going on to the 2Ls. Noor Khalid.
Hi, everyone. My name is
Hi, Noor.
I'm from Hamilton, Ontario in Canada. I graduated from the University of Waterloo, which is in Canada, in 2017, and then I took 1 year off before starting law school.
Thanks, Noor. Could you all hear Noor? Did you mention where you are right now?
I did mention. Were you able to hear me, or?
I hear you better now.
Okay. Should I reintroduce myself?
Sure.
Okay. So I was saying, my name is Noor Khalid. I am from Hamilton, Ontario in Canada. I graduated from the University of Waterloo in Canada in 2017, and then I took 1 year off before starting law school.
Great. Thanks, Noor. Dee Matia.
Hi, I'm Deirdre, D for short. I'm a 2L. I'm from South Plainfield, New Jersey, and I went to Syracuse University for undergrad. I graduated in 2017, and after that I worked in sports sponsorship and like retail for a year before coming to law school in 2018.
Thanks, Dee. Joe Padell.
Hello, everybody. Congratulations to all of you. So I actually went to school I'm from Long Island. I went to a small school called St. Joseph's College down there. I majored in math, and I actually taught for a year and made the big change from numbers to words and came to law school. And yeah, so I just took a year in between, taught for a year, got certified, and now I'm here.
Thanks, Joe. Libby.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. I go by Libby. I'm from Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm in my second year at Albany Law, almost done. I have one final left, and then I'll officially be a 3L. I went to Albany, and I graduated in 2018, and I came to law school right away from there. So I've been in Albany for a while.
Thanks, Libby. Good luck with your last final.
Thank you.
And Nick Wall. Okay, Nick, we can't hear you.
I can go tell him to come to my laptop.
All right, Nick, we're going to come back to you. Gianni Prosciutti.
Hi, I'm Gianni. I am from Rochester, New York. I went to undergrad at SUNY Brockport in Rochester. And as soon as I graduated college, I came right to Albany Law for school. So I didn't take any time off. But
Nice. Thanks, Gianni. Okay, Nick, how you doing over there? think he may, okay, he's gonna come back. We're gonna move on to our graduates. First, Kayla Potter.
Hi, everyone. Congrats again, as some people have already mentioned. I'm Kayla Potter. I did just graduate last week from the law school. I'm from Endicott, New York. I moved up to Albany to complete my bachelor's in criminal justice, and I've been here ever since.
And Kayla, you should add your one piece of excellent news.
And I also found out that I passed the New York State Bar exam.
Yes. Woo-hoo! Yay! So Kayla took the exam in February, which is why she has the pleasure of announcing that today. Okay, next, Keira Murphy.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kieran. I also just graduated from Albany Law School last week. I did not take the bar exam yet, so I'll be doing that in September. So I'll be spending this summer studying. I'm originally from Rockland County, New York, which is a suburb down by New York City. I went to SUNY Binghamton, where I studied neuroscience and financial economics, and then I came directly to Albany Law School.
Kieran, can I just, there was a question, I came in a little towards the end of the faculty panel, and there was a question about opportunities in New York City. So can you just let everyone know where you're going next?
Yeah, sure. So Albany Law School has so many great connections in New York City, and I was lucky to take advantage of one of them. I'm going to, after I take the bar, I'm going to be moving down to New York to practice securities litigation at Milbank, which is a larger law firm located in Hudson Yards.
Thanks, Kieran. Congratulations. Okay, so I'm going to try one more time with Nick. Nick, you out there?
How about this? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Look at that. Apparently I need to restart my computer before I start a Zoom meeting, but.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I'm Nick. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm a 2L, and I actually, believe it or not, owned a bar for a little bit before I came to law school. Decided to take a different route and came to Albany, so.
Nice, and sight unseen. It's
sight unseen, yep.
Right?
Yep.
Right. So, so I'm going to ask you to start. You'll be the first to tell us why you chose Albany Law School, sight unseen.
Sure. Honestly, the biggest thing that brought me to Albany Law School was I knew that there was going to be a ton of awesome opportunities that came out of being at law school in New York's capital. I'd actually never been to New York, like I said, so it was kind of interesting to come to Albany, knowing nothing about New York, knowing nothing about really the East Coast type of culture and stuff. So, but yeah, I picked Albany Law School because of really the opportunities that came from being ingrained in the East Coast, being ingrained in New York's capital. So that was what brought me to Albany Law School.
And Joe, who's kind enough to offer you, I don't know how he was going to do that from Long Island. Oh no, you're back in Albany, right, Joe?
No, I'm back in Albany.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how he was going to offer it. Yeah. So Joe, how about you?
Yes, so I have many reasons for choosing the school, but to keep it to a few, I think location's a huge thing. There's just endless opportunities here. Another huge thing, since I am from Long Island, it's really not a bad drive to get down there. But the biggest thing for me was probably the comfort of the school, how the school's always helping us and sort of talking to us, working with us, all that. Just from my tour alone, I was meeting professors, meeting students, and it made me feel very comfortable immediately. And honestly, every opportunity I've had since getting on campus has been great. So.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I have to say, coming from New York City, I can say you'll probably hear this a lot, this theme of community at Albany Law School. And from the first day I got here, I noticed it right away, that it really is a community and a family. And coming from New York City, obviously, it's quite different. Because it's such I went to law school in New York City, and the fact that many students are commuting doesn't always lend itself to that same sense of community. So I think that's a really good point, and often the reason students give for deciding to come to the law school. So we're going to shift to a question for Dee. So Dee, what surprised you most about law school?
So I would say just how approachable the professors are, especially at Albany Law School. Like I felt super comfortable going to them and to the TAs for the first year courses, and like made a lot of friends because of that actually. And then I'm so thankful of like all the friends I was able to make first year, and I know they'll be lifelong friends and colleagues.
And sort of a related question. So I'm going to go to Katie on this one. So Katie, before coming to law school, what, if anything, did you do to prepare? That's often a question we get from incoming students is, what should I do and to better prepare myself to start law school?
Before I answer that question, I want to add to something that made me want to come to Albany Law School, which was, I know a lot of the students on this call won't get to visit, maybe potentially. And there's something important to know, and a lot of my friends at school, and I talk about this a lot, is the law school feels like a law school, and there's something implicit in that does make a big difference, and it feels substantial and it feels real. So in some way it contributes to your experience there, like being at something that feels like a law school. To answer your actual question, I highly suggest and recommend not preparing for substantive material that you're going to be learning your first year, just because your professors are going to give you everything you need to know to do well in the course and learn a lot. So what I did was I just got a lot of reading in. Like I had mentioned before, I was in corporate sales for 4 years, and I wasn't doing a ton of reading or as much reading as you would do in law school. So I just read like leisure books, just to get used to the reading pattern, because you'll obviously be doing that a lot in school.
So don't read your torts book. Read
do not. Wait for supervision before torts.
Yeah. So I think that's such good advice, because it does put you in the habit of reading, which you will do a fair amount of as a law student. But it's also important to read things you like when you can, and also reading good work will help you be a better writer, and will enhance all the skills you need as a lawyer and a law student. I just want to mention a couple of our first year students actually are starting the Albany Law School Literary Circle. So you may receive some material about that in the mail, and we can also share that electronically with you if you're interested. But along the same lines of having the opportunity to read and also build some community, we're asking incoming students to participate in that too. And there are students and faculty members and alums that are participating in that. So good advice, Katie. How about Matt? Matt, what, if anything, did you do before coming to law school to prepare?
Yeah. So it was literally 1 year ago when I was in your exact same position right now. And I remember at the time I was kind of like freaking out about law school is going to be so hard. I don't know what I'm going to do. What am I going to do this summer to prepare? So what I did is I found an attorney in my area, and he was a prosecutor, and I worked for him for the summer. And it was a really good way to kind of get my feet wet and kind of start the process of understanding some of the concepts we're going to be talking about. So if you do have an opportunity like that, I'd highly recommend it. That being said, though, if you can't find an opportunity, that's okay too. You can prepare by reading, as some other people mentioned, just mentally preparing yourself for it. But if you do have the opportunity like that, I would take it.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I think it's important to remember that you're coming to law school so we can teach you all the material that you will review in law school. So no need to come in having done that already, right? We can take care of that. And I think these are two really good perspectives, right? One, just reading and focusing on that, which I think is really important. But also, as Matt said, it's fine to get some exposure to the practice, and that can often be really helpful from a mentoring perspective, and also can be quite inspiring as you start on this journey. So I'm going to shift to some information about living in Albany and having fun, because law students have fun too. So first, let's talk about, can you give our accepted students an idea of some of the places law students live in and around Albany, and then I'll shift to what you do for fun. So I am going to ask Kayla Potter to start by telling us about where she lived, since Kayla's our graduate.
Sure. So the cool thing about Albany, I thought, was actually the fact that there's kind of something for everyone. So if you're a student that wants to live right in, let's say, the city of Albany, there's all of those apartments around there. For me personally, I went to college here, so I wanted to stay far away from the city of Albany. I wanted that more residential feel. I was also from a more rural area, so I kind of moved a little bit farther away. I actually live in Guilderland now, and I love it. It's about a 20-minute drive maybe to school. So the cool thing definitely about moving here is there's so many different neighborhoods. Albany, especially where the law school is located, is so central to basically everything. So you really can't go wrong in terms of where you're living. There's definitely something for everyone and for every budget, which is the other thing I love about Albany.
So Kayla's friend Kieran has a slightly different perspective. So Kieran, tell us about where you live.
Yeah, so like Kayla kind of insinuated, there's a big city kind of center, and then there's the suburbs outside of it. I'm moving to the city. I love the urban environment. So I live, on-street parking. I live right in the heart of downtown, which is my favorite. But I understand that that's not for everybody. But I will say, if you are thinking, and I know this is kind of a niche topic, but if you are thinking about New York after Albany Law School, this was a great city for me to kind of get used to that urban environment without it being so immersive. It was a great transition city, and I'm very grateful to have had that before diving right into the craziness of New York. But like Kayla said, there really is something for everybody on every budget.
So I'm going to apologize, because if you hear some background noise, there's some lawn mowing going on here, and I really apologize. But what you two just talked about made me think about when I moved here from New York City. And it's funny to hear Kieran's perspective of being in the city of Albany as the transition into New York City. And I felt sort of the same way when I moved here from New York City. I had to be in downtown Albany in the city, because I needed a little transition before I moved to where I am now, which is the suburb of Albany, which for the incoming students, you should just know that a lot of the faculty really live fairly close, which I think goes to what Dee was saying about the accessibility of the faculty. Is we're really close, and we're often on campus and really easy to find and to meet with. So it's interesting to hear the perspectives. So one last living perspective, I think, Matt, you currently or did live in UHA Suites. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about that, where it is, and a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, so I guess technically I officially moved out a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But I did live there my entire 1L year. And as a 1L, I thought it was a great place to live. The best part about it is the convenience, because it's literally about a 5-minute walk to campus. And one of the things I found really nice about it is, say you have an hour break in between classes, you can just go back to your apartment and stay there for the hour. When if you live off campus, a lot of students would have to just stay on campus and go to the library, for example, or find something else to do while you're there. It's also a great way to meet people your age, because it's primarily of graduate students and other people around your age. And it's a great place to live. It's a safe place to live. As a 1L, I'd highly recommend going into it just to kind of get your feet wet into the whole system.
Thanks, Matt. Take it back.
If I could jump in for a second.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Just based on the chat, before we move away from living, there was some concern about like noise concerns, either downtown or on Lark. If any of you have any experience with that or can speak to whether or not you think that that is a viable place for folks to live. I know Karen mentioned downtown a bit. Lark is popular, so can we maybe talk a little bit about Lark?
Yeah, I mean, I live on State and Lark, so I guess I can kind of contribute to that. It definitely is not quiet. I don't want to in any way insinuate that, but it isn't like living on the streets of New York. If you can just kind of picture a happy middle ground of, you know, I hear a siren maybe once every couple of hours because we're so close to the hospital, but other than that, it's mainly just street traffic.
I think Dee, I was also going to ask Dee about where she lives.
Sure. So like Matt, I lived in the Suites my first year. I hadn't like looked around like the area of Albany, so I like just kind of settled on housing like over the summer and didn't like visit where. And unfortunately, it ended up not being in like the best part. But like any city, like, you know, there's different areas that are more favorable than others. So I thankfully was able to move to the Suites pretty early on in my first year. And that was a great experience. I echo everything Matt said about it. And like, I also recommend using the Facebook page for any questions. Like, I was super unsure about Albany, like as a city and as an area. And like where Kieran mentioned is a great area. Currently, like me and Libby live in the Helderberg area now for our second year, and it's very residential and really quiet. And I'd highly recommend that. But like, if you have any questions, like regarding like neighborhoods, like I would definitely go to the Facebook page or reach out to admissions, and I for one would be happy to help because I had like a weird experience, and I would just love to help recommend people in like the best areas to live their first year especially.
Thanks, Dee. And so since you mentioned Libby, so Libby, tell us a little bit about some of the things you can do in and around Albany when you're not reading your case books and studying for finals.
So there's a lot to do in Albany and even in the surrounding areas. We're so close to so many other great places like Saratoga and Troy. So there's always those options. But in Albany itself, there's like kickball leagues that you can join, like adult kickball leagues, which like I have done in the past. And I know my friends did it last summer. I'm assuming it's not going to happen this summer, but it's really fun, great way to just relax and stuff. And they do it during the semester too. I think it's on like Thursday nights or something. There are a ton of just iconic Albany events like Lark Fest and Tulip Fest, and it just really brings everyone together. And a lot of concerts and stuff will happen at those events. They'll like shut down all of Lark Street. You walk up and down it. It's so much fun. Just to mention Lark Street itself, for those of you that don't know Lark, it is just this amazing old street. It's filled with bars and restaurants, and there's really good nightlife there. It's great to walk around during the day. There's, I think, like little antique shops and coffee shops and what else? Tattoo shops, I think. It's
cobblestones.
Everything. But then there's also—
It is a pretty street.
Yeah, it is. There's also Washington Park. It's really nice to walk through, and especially if it's really nice weather, you can like lay out there in the sun. There's a little dog park in there. And then, what else? I guess, I don't know, there's a lot of gyms in Albany that you can join, and that's another thing that you can do if you like doing that kind of stuff. But there's really something for everyone around here. There's a little farm too where you can go apple picking, and they have like, I think, wine tasting or beer, I don't know. So there are so many places in just this little area that you can find everything no matter what you're interested in, day of the week or weekend.
Does anyone want to add anything to that? Thanks, Libby.
Mm-hmm.
I think you covered a lot.
I can add a quick plug in that in the coming weeks, we're going to be having a whole session dedicated to sort of finding and vetting neighborhoods and places to live and fun things to do. So keep an eye on your email for continued programming that we'll have like a whole hour dedicated with current students just to kind of talk more about this stuff. So they're giving you a flavor. You can reach out to them again, but we'll also do continued programming on that. So in the meanwhile, just let us know what you need to know.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, there are a lot of things to do right in and around the city of Albany, but there are also some really accessible, beautiful places in New York State that I can tell you, I personally had not ever visited until I moved to Albany. And like including, you know, Lake Placid, like is really a little over 2 hours away. And it's just beautiful. I mean, you never really think about going there because you think about the Olympics from 1980, but it is, and you still can go and check out all the coolness about the Olympics in 1980, but it's just beautiful. And Lake George is an hour away. Saratoga is a really beautiful place. The Berkshires, I mean, there are just a lot of really close, accessible places to visit, in addition to, you know, the more local options of ways to have fun, which is important to incorporate that into your law school life. So
Dean Queen, just to
yeah,
jump in here,
sorry.
we had a question from the chat a little while back that maybe you have it on the list coming up later, but it was about workload and students both having a job and being in law school. And if some of the students with us here could just share their experiences about both working and being a law student.
Yeah, so, and I may miss someone, but I know Dee and Joe, I think you've done field placements, right? Kayla, you may also have done field placement, which is where you're placed in an agency or an office to work for credit. So do any of you or anyone who's done other part-time work while balancing your course load, does anyone want to speak to that?
I can talk briefly about mine. So I knew upon coming to law school that I wanted to try out labor and employment law. So I sought out an opportunity at NYSET, which is the New York State United Teachers. So they basically do like a lot of union work and like legal services for teachers in New York State. And I initially started there as a field placement my first semester of second year. And luckily I was able to funnel in as a paid law clerk moving forward from that. So the field placement program was a great opportunity for me to get a paid job and also be immersed in an area of law that I was really interested in. So that was like more from like, I mean, they're like, it's like public, private, like hybrid mix.
Yeah. And I know you talked a little bit about, the faculty talked a little bit about field placement during the faculty panel. So they may have already mentioned this. And if so, I apologize for repeating it, but I think it's also worth repeating that because Albany is the only law school in Albany, there are we have too many field placement opportunities because the law students aren't competing with any other students to get those positions. So, you know, while, you know, maybe like take, for example, you really want to work for this particular federal judge, you may not be able to do that particular semester because that judge is only taking one person, but it is very likely that you will get it at some point. So there's just, you know, it's a really big advantage. I mean, A, being in the capital and in Albany where there are so many legal jobs, but B, being the only law school, I think it adds a little bit also of an advantage to getting that experience. Thanks, Steve. Anyone else want to share about work?
I'll throw in a little part.
Sure.
So Dee did NYSET, and one of the things that I think is pretty cool is there's so many different opportunities. So like my field placement was first semester, second year, which you can't do a field placement your first year. But I was working for the Albany County District Attorney's Office. So that was like, and I would love to go back, and I've actually volunteered ever since. So it's just, I feel like one of the cool things about the field placements is people will work with you to get you to a spot where you want to go in your future. And that's really it.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, and there definitely are students that work outside of the field placement program and go to law school. And some students even come into law school with work responsibilities and often will start in the 4-year program instead so that they have a lighter course load to balance that out. But it is common for students to get a part-time job throughout the course of their time at the law school. And I think our registrar's office is great, and our career counselors and our faculty advisors all will help you sort of navigate that, you know, give you a sense of, I mean, I've often told students, you know, I don't think you want to take 17 credits and do that and that and that. So, you know, we're not shy, and we'll tell you that, and that's what we're here for. So it's a good question and a good thing to think about, but it's definitely possible to incorporate some work experience in, and it's actually preferred, and we often recommend it.
I will just reiterate really quickly, if I can. It is not recommended to be in the 3-year program and work while you're in your first year.
Absolutely.
Some students find that they're able to balance adding some in their upper class years. And as Dean Queenan mentioned, you'll have a lot of advisors, faculty advisors, career advisors, the registrar, who can help you if you need to balance it, but you do need to pay very close attention to that time management and have a plan and a strategy for balancing it. If you are someone who feels like you really need to work coming in, that's something that you're not going to be able to let go of completely, then we would encourage you to try the 4-year track. Many students can start their first year in the 4-year track and still ultimately graduate in 3 years by adding in some summer credits and some flexible, like maybe independent study and research credits and things like that later on. So it is still possible to graduate in 3 years, even if you start in the 4-year track, but it opens up a little bit of those credit hours in that first year when it's the most intensive, so that you can work. We want to be flexible, but we also want to set you up for success. So if you're someone who's considering working, please just make sure you're speaking with your advisors about it. You can contact admissions and we can start those conversations for you.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent point. I actually just, before I got on this call, I met with a student who switched from the 4-year program to the 3-year program. And it is really, really important that you listen to Dean Manjone's advice, because, you know, the other thing is you have never done this before. So it's better to start in a way that you're dedicating all of your time to this. And then, you know, again, if you're in the 4-year program and you decide, okay, I'm going to lay off on the work and I'm going to switch to the 3-year program, or in your second and third year, you feel like you can go back and incorporate it in, you can decide that. But you really want to be mindful in your first year. Okay, so we talked a little bit about life outside of school and having fun, but we also have a lot of fun in the school. So we're going to talk a little bit about student life on campus. We have a really robust new core program. We have 3 academic student-run journals and almost 30, I would say it's probably more than 30 now, student organizations. Every time I turn around, we have a new student organization. So, and that is really run by our Student Bar Association, which is very active and really involved in campus. So I'm going to just ask some of our students to share a little bit about their experiences in those organizations and other things they've done on campus to give you a sense of what it's like. But it's really busy, and I will tell you that many of these students on this call are involved in multiple activities. So I might ask them to talk about one, but they are likely involved in many more. But, you know, you should also know that you don't have to be involved in 100 things. Like, you know, we have a pretty broad range of activities. And it's also true that if you come up with a new idea, which is highly unlikely, you can also try to start another new organization. So I'm going to start with Noor. Hi, Noor. How you doing?
Hi. Good.
So Noor, so this is interesting because it's a little transition year, right? So some of these student organizations have not had their elections yet. But so Noor is the outgoing president of the Muslim Law Students Association and vice president of the Asia Pacific Law Students Association. So Noor, tell us about your experience and how some of the events the organizations do and how they interact, because there is often collaboration among the student organizations as well.
Yes, so being a part of an affinity group gives a great sense of community at the school. During the semester, we usually hold networking events, either just one affinity group at a time, or a couple affinity groups will join together and host networking events to have attorneys from the Capital Region come to the school and speak with students at our school and help build those connections. We also hold other gatherings, just like cultural events or other gatherings that students would like to hold, just so that we can all learn from each other. Because, you know, being a part of an affinity group, we try to check up on each other because we're all in this law school journey together, and we really try to help encourage that.
Thank you. So let's shift to, well, Nick, I feel like I should let you talk about rugby, one of our other student organizations.
Sure. Yeah, so
president, right?
President, yep, just elected a little bit ago. Yeah, president of the rugby club. So the rugby club is actually really interesting. It's funny, I played rugby before I came to Albany Law School, having no idea that there was a rugby club with as much tradition that runs through the law school. But one thing that was really kind of a cool thing that I've been a part of with the rugby team is just how expansive the alumni network is. And it has just been incredible with talking to all sorts of alumni that played, you know, in the 70s. And I've got people that are, you know, recent graduates that are like, oh, you're an Albany Law School rugby player. Like, I played back in the 80s. So just having the massive alumni network that's come from that, as well as doing all sorts of other stuff too. So this last year, I'm actually wearing one of our shirts.
I see that.
We sell shirts for all of the profits from it go to whatever charity that we pick. So this last year was the Make-A-Wish Foundation. This year was Navy SEAL Foundation. So just kind of getting out and doing stuff that isn't just playing rugby, which is great.
Yes.
But,
it's great. And we have a women's rugby team as well.
Yep.
So, and Nick is right. There is very long history and tradition that is tied to the Albany law community. So thanks, Nick, for that. So I'm not going to name all the other student organizations, but I'm going to ask Libby to talk a little about the Student Bar Association, and maybe she can share a little bit more information about the variety of student organizations. And I guess I should just mention, if you do come to Albany Law School, which we hope you will, we have a student organization fair. So it's typically a week or two after orientation, but all the student organizations will give you information and have sign-up sheets for those who are interested, and then they'll have general interest meetings. So you'll learn even more about them. But Libby, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Student Bar Association?
Yeah, I just saw a message in the chat too. There is a list. I can link it after I'm done talking. I actually think I have it open right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Libby.
But okay, so I am this year I was a second year class representative on the Student Bar Association. Next year I will be our 3L class president.
Yay!
So being on the Student Bar Association is a lot of responsibility. We meet about every other week and then have our just like little individual meetings in between per class or per committee and stuff. So the SBA is responsible for planning certain events within the school, like our Barrister's Ball, which is essentially law prom, and like our farewell party to the 3Ls, and then Halloween and Christmas events. So we have those kind of things. We are responsible for hearing the concerns of students, and they'll bring it to us. We'll talk about it at meetings. We'll see how we can resolve anything. And then we're also, big part of what we do is budget and funding for our student groups. So our student groups, as everyone has been talking about, will plan a bunch of events during the year, whether it be just like a networking event or some sort of informational type thing. We have types of events or types of clubs, like about certain areas of law, like we have an intellectual property club, criminal law society, sports and entertainment law society, those kind of things. But then we also have sports. Nick mentioned rugby. We also have a basketball club, like a soccer club, that kind of stuff. And then we have Women's Law Caucus. We have Outlaw, which is our LGBTQ group. Sorry. We have Black Law Student Association. Nor mentioned some of the other ones. We have Gaelic Law Society. What else? Business Law Society.
those kind of things. But then, sorry,
No, I was just going to say, I think Ben put the link in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see them all on there. And then if there's something that you're not interested, or that you are interested in that we don't have, you can always bring it to us. We are constantly approving new clubs and other things in our meetings. But then if that stuff doesn't really interest you either, we do have SBA committees. So we'll have philanthropy committee, alumni committee, ethics committee, bylaws committee, all those kind of things, which maybe if you want to be on SBA, especially in your first year, but you don't think you can commit that kind of time, you can join these committees and still get to play a huge role in like the backbone of the school.
Thanks, Libby. Yeah, and for those of you on the call, if you're interested, we will hold an election for the 1L class president and reps shortly after we start. It's sort of like, I feel like it's like the first week of school. You're deciding who you want to represent you, which is quite fun. But there's a process, and SBA has it down, and they're a really great group, really diverse group, really hardworking. They meet twice a month, every month, and they're hard at work representing their classmates. So thanks, Libby. There was a question in the chat about orientation. So as I mentioned, we're planning that as I was just actually working on it before I got on the call. So our goal is to have you on campus for at least parts of orientation. You know, we're really trying to go through and see if there are some things you could do online, but you know, it's sort of the same idea as coming on campus in the fall. We want to have you be on campus and meet each other and interact with us and other students as much as we can. So we will have more details soon, but we haven't figured all of it out yet. But it's likely to be some sort of a hybrid version, I would say. So happy to answer more specific questions to the extent that I can. So Dee, you talked about fleet placement. I wanted to talk a little bit about moot court. So this is interesting because we have Joe Bedell, who is the newly elected executive director, and then we have Keira Murphy, who is the past executive director. So I'm going to call on Joe, and then Kieran, you can fill in. How's that sound?
Things have changed. All right, so I don't know who knows what about moot court, but it's basically your opportunity to get some public speaking experience in front of a courtroom and other different opportunities like negotiations, client counseling. The program offers a whole bunch of different opportunities to get involved. So throughout your 1L year, my 1L year even, I was volunteering as a bailiff and a juror for many competitions, and I loved it, so I decided to go on the board. Aside from that, so I'll let Kieran cover the travel teams, but a lot of the in-school competitions, like our big one is Gabrielli, which is an appellate advocacy competition, and then the 3Ls have the opportunity to do senior prize trials, and yeah, it's a great opportunity. So I'll let Kieran wrap it up.
Yeah, I agree with everything Joe said. There's also the opportunity in your second and third year to travel to different cities across the country and represent the law school in competitions against other law schools. And that kind of changes every year depending on what types of competitions the students are interested in. So the program definitely hosts at least one competition in every kind of area of moot court. So even if you're not interested in litigation, it's not a program that you need to shy away from. To the contrary, it's probably something you want to be taking advantage of regardless of what you want to do after law school, because it really could help you figure out kind of where you might want to be.
Thanks, Kieran. Yeah, and can you, I know Katie mentioned how much fun she had being a bailiff, but can you just talk a little bit about what you can do as a 1L to be involved?
Yeah, sure. So the program agrees with the school's emphasis that the first year should be about academics and the main focus on the first year should be in the classroom. So the opportunities that we give to the 1Ls in the moot court program are on a volunteer basis. So depending on the type of competition that you might be interested in your second and third year, we offer different types of volunteer things that can be done depending on the competition. So for the mock trial, we let first years sit in the jury and return a verdict in the case. In the appeals section of the program, we have them as timekeepers, and they're able to kind of take notes on the participants and learn a lot kind of from watching, because you are required to do an oral argument at the end of your first year. And that's kind of a lot of what the program does. So it's great to kind of see second and third years do it before you're required. But like I said, the main focus the first year is in the classroom. So feel free to take advantage as much or as little of the program as you find feasible for your schedule.
Thanks, Kieran. So I'm going to ask Gianni to talk a little bit about his work as an admissions ambassador and work study on campus.
Yeah, so work study in an admissions office has honestly been one of my favorite things about Albany Law. I absolutely love my job there, and like being away from my work family for so long, I miss them a lot. So that the admissions office is just like, through the admissions office, I have gotten to know like literally everybody. I couldn't, like, I think I know every staff in the building, honestly. Then just through that, I get to meet a lot of people. I get to talk to a lot of people and help prospective students. And it's a really rewarding experience. It's one of my, probably one of the most rewarding things I've done, because it is a big decision that you have to make going into law school. And I know having a support system is really important. And my coworkers in admissions have been a big part of my support system, specifically Lori. If you guys decide to come here and you get to know Lori, she will handle any problem you have. So it's really nice that I have that, and it's just overall a great experience and has really helped me. I think both in my school and also I feel like it's helped me become it'll help me become a better lawyer, because I get to branch out and talk to more people.
Yeah, that's great. We miss all of you too. So that was a really good segue into my next question about rewarding experiences. But I wanted to mention about orientation, that while we're hoping to have some opportunities for you to be on campus, it's not required that you do that. So we will make sure that the academic pieces, as well as the other non-academic pieces, are also, there's a virtual option. So I don't want you to feel like that is not required. We will make it so that you can do either one. Okay, so shifting to the most rewarding experience. So I like to start with our graduates, because I know they have many. I try to get them to give us one, and this question always I always tear up a little bit on this one. So no pressure or anything. But I'm going to start with Kayla. So Kayla, tell us about your most rewarding experience at Albany Law School. You can have one.
I was gonna say I have two.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
fine.
that I can pick. So I have to say I came to the law school thinking that I wanted to do criminal law. I really thought I wanted to be an assistant district attorney. And Joanne Casey, who I think is in this call, can vouch for the fact that we had just about 100 meetings of me thinking I was never going to get a job. Who knows what's going to happen? And the day that call came in saying that I got a job as an Albany County assistant district attorney will forever be one of the coolest calls of my life. It was just cool to see that entire educational trajectory come true for me. And then also just getting that bar exam, you pass letter, there is truly no feeling like it. There's also no feeling like being able to call your support system and telling all of them that you passed. Dean Mangione actually was my bar prep coach, and the second I found out I passed, I FaceTimed her, absolutely hysterical, but it was just such a cool feeling to be able to have that moment and to tell everyone that I think I FaceTimed numerous people in this call, for being honest. It was just, that's how close the faculty and staff really are with you here. They are a part of this entire journey with you, and they really are the first people that you're going to call when you get this good news. So it's cool. It is the best feeling ever looking
Thanks,
back.
Kayla. I knew it was going to happen. Okay, Kieran, you're next.
Okay, since Kayla did two, then I'll do two.
Okay, that's fine. Deal.
So I think my first one would be, and Dean Queen, and you can speak to this too. The last year I went to a moot court competition in New York City with a very, very good friend of mine, and we did very well. We were selected as finalists. And it's just, I think.
And Kieran won an award for Best Advocate, but of course he's too much to share that with you.
No, it was great. It was so fun. It was just nice to see. It's nice to validate the education that you're getting here is just so on par, if not better, than the education that people are receiving at other schools. I mean, we had people coming up to us from NYU and from Columbia and from Fordham saying that we were absolutely fantastic. And that was just humbling to hear, especially being so nervous going against those schools going into it. So that was definitely really rewarding to be validated in that respect. And then my second one, I'll copy Kayla, was getting my job offer. Like I said at the beginning, from the beginning, really wanted to end up in New York City. It wasn't necessarily, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to end up there. And as that job search kind of took place, I realized kind of more what I wanted to do. So definitely getting that phone call saying, yes, you have a job in New York at a private firm. I was super excited. So if anyone has questions about that process or OCI specifically, please send me an email because I have a lot to say.
We can also give a shout out to Kieran, who received accolades from all of the deans of New York State law schools for his leadership and advocacy during this COVID crisis. So he took a very sort of lead role in sort of advocating for bar takers, and he's gotten some really nice recognition, well-deserved recognition. So for anybody who's concerned about little old Albany not being sort of known, like, we are the state capital, we have a wonderful reputation, and you definitely can get as much, recognition as anyone else. So congrats, Kieran.
Thank you. I definitely agree.
Okay, so see, I told you, I'm a little teary over here. So I am going to, because we don't have a lot of time left, so I think what we're going to do is, Ben, you'll appreciate this. We're going into the lightning round. So if any of you have heard the Albany Law podcasts that Ben Myers has put together, he has this lightning round, but I'm not going to ask you about where you get your best cup of coffee and all that stuff. I'm going to ask each of you, although those are really good questions, I actually appreciate those. I'm going to ask each of you to give this group one piece of advice. So what's one piece of advice you would give to an incoming law student? And I'm going to ask you to be quick, right? Lightning and brief. Okay, so let's start with, so you have no idea who I'm going to start with, right? I'm going to start with Joe.
First in line. I think the most advice that I'd give is not be afraid to put yourself out there. I think that's what's led me to my internships, my field placements, all that stuff, my moot court opportunity. And it's just lasting memories I know I'm always going to have.
Thank you. Katie.
I would say find your tribe. Some of the most rewarding stuff about law school is finding people who have the same interests as you and can support you through the process. So find your tribe.
Nice. That's a good one. Noor.
I would say to just know yourself and to trust yourself. Don't let it scare you with what their experience is, because everyone's experience is going to be different.
Such good advice. It's true. You'll get a ton of advice from all different people and who've had all different experiences, and it is important to trust yourself. Good one. Matt.
Yeah, I would say get involved, but don't overwhelm yourself, because there's a lot of stuff to do around here, a lot of clubs to get involved in, but it is important to remember that grades do tend to come first, especially your 1L year.
Good advice. Gianni.
So I would say learn how, figure out how you study the best. coming into law school, it's a completely different ballgame than college. So if you didn't study in college, that doesn't pass in law school. So figure out how you like to study.
Okay, Kieran.
My advice would be one of the first things you should be doing when you get situated is sit down with your career counselor and walk through the different pathways that they give to students. You don't have to know what you want to do, but having them on the same page as you is going to be so beneficial when you're looking for a job. So I would definitely get to know them ASAP.
Nice. Nick.
Yeah, I think the advice that I would give is be sure to keep having fun. We're all here for law school, obviously, and we're here for academics, but get out there and actually do stuff to keep having fun because it'll make a world of difference.
D.
I would say like just compare yourself to yourself and don't compare yourself to anyone else upon like coming to law school. Everyone's on a large learning curve and like just recognize that and just maintain your confidence in your abilities and everything will come to place soon.
Kayla.
I would say don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. That's what the faculty and staff is definitely there for, and they want you to come to them.
Good one. Okay, and I think last but not least, Libby.
D, Nick, and Kayla all took mine, but I guess
Sorry, Libby.
No, it's okay. I would just reiterate what they said. You know, in your first year classes, you might feel like you're falling behind because someone's 3 readings ahead of you, but it's just important. Everyone works at different paces. It's important to remember that. But then if you are behind, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Excellent lightning round. So do we have time for some questions? Do we have any questions?
Looking for those hands to raise. There've been a very active chat, which is always great. I find the students are always like,
really good questions.
They're used to navigating these chat stuff.
That was a well done lightning round, by the way. As a lightning round expert and with a lot of experience in lightning rounds, that was a very clean, nice, positive lightning round.
I agree. They did awesome.
We did just have a question pop up in the chat, though. How will classes online affect things like I can't, maybe I'm getting old now. I can't even, does it say ICIs?
OCIs, on-campus interviews? Is that the question?
Yes, it's OCIs, on-campus interviews.
Yeah. So we're sort of doing, I would say, a little a la carte on and off-campus interviewing this year. So some of the big firms in New York City and we do participate in that program, are pushing that program off until January. But a lot of the local Albany firms may not do that, right? So our career office, which we haven't, well, you're going to meet Dean Fitzpatrick shortly, who's awesome. And her team is also awesome. And we should mention, in addition to getting a faculty advisor when you arrive, you'll get a career counselor. You'll be assigned a career counselor. They probably won't reach out to you until October because that's typically how their cycle works. But they have been really active in reaching out to all of our employers, and they're willing to work around whatever schedule they want to use for interviewing and hiring. So it's hard to really give you an answer other than to say we're going to do whatever employers want us to do to make sure our students get jobs. So that's really what our focus is, and we're going to do the best we can to work around their schedules. So there might be a little bit of a mix. You know, there might be some in the summer, and then there'll be some certainly in January. But they'll be really good at communicating all of that information to you, and it's a really good question.
I would also reiterate, I think it sometimes is hard for people to remember because we're all operating in our own little spheres and our own bubbles, and this crisis has impacted each of us in different ways, but it literally is everywhere and everyone. So to the extent that OCIs are interrupted or affected by online programming, it's that way at every other law school. So we at Albany Law are no more or less affected than any other school that you're sort of, competing with for those placements. So I just think it's important to keep that sort of in mind.
And the other thing I'll say is people interview by Zoom. I mean, it's happened. It's happening. So, I think to the extent that they're willing to go through the process, they're going to find a way to make it happen. And, one of the other benefits, which I'm sure you've heard too, or you will hear, you're going to hear from Judge Reba, who's one of our alums. Our alumni network is crazy good. Like, I don't even know how else to describe it. Like, they are so loyal, so committed. I mean, there are some employers who will only hire from Albany Law School because of how loyal the alumni base is. So, so that definitely is a plus. I feel like there was another, Do the current students have any advice on successful study habits for the harder first semester classes like torts and contracts? I'm a little upset you didn't put civil procedure in there, but I'll let one of you answer. Katie wants to answer.
I was just typing a response, but I would also say that different subjects are hard for different people. So for me, contracts and property were beasts. Torts was something that I really enjoyed. But I think it's really important to find what works best for you. And so for me, I found I was kind of a social studier, where it's sitting with some of my classmates and discussing concepts or rules. But for a lot of other people, I know a lot of people who do flashcards or just write the rules that they learn in class over and over and over again. So it's important to find what works best for you. And as a student, former civil procedure student of Dean Queen, and I will say it is a very hard class. She gives you everything you need to know to succeed. So if you have other questions about how to study, because also I would mention I was not a major super crazy studier in undergrad. And so I had to completely shift my path to succeed in law school. So if you have any questions about preparing for that kind of stuff, please email me. My email's in the chat.
Thanks, Katie. She was an excellent student. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I'll add something. One thing that I wish that I did in my first year, especially for the tougher classes, like the 4 credit classes like torts, is start your outlines early. You don't want to save outlining for just before the final, and I did that. And I think that I would have benefited if I had started earlier, putting the rule statements and the relevant cases all together early on and reviewing it at the end of each week, and then just continuing to add to it will definitely help you in the long run, instead of just forgetting about what you learned that week and then until like the very end. So definitely start outlining early.
And I'll say, I mean, you're welcome to take notes, and they're giving great advice, but in all of your first year classes, you'll have teaching assistants, and they will give you nothing but advice on, how to study, how to prepare for finals, tips on, how to get through the class. They, in most cases, I'm going to say a very high percentage, maybe like 98% of the time will have had that professor for that class. So they're really, really valuable, and they're willing to answer any questions you have. And obviously you can ask all these folks as well. But it's good to get multiple perspectives, I'll say, because going back to the lightning round, you got to know yourself and how you study, right? So if it's been working for you, don't go trying something crazy new. Stick to what works for you. If that doesn't work for you, then by all means get some advice and explore some other options. But there's plenty of people, including our academic support professor and many people on the faculty who are willing to help you. Any other questions?
Maybe Kayla wants to talk just briefly a little bit about the pro bono program and how that works and how she managed to take the bar in February?
Yeah, I was just responding to that in the chat. So someone had asked how I took the bar before graduation. So there's actually a program called the Pro Bono Scholars. There was actually 100% pass rate for our school for the Pro Bono Scholars this year. So it was really, really cool to be a part of something like that. But it actually allows you, I started studying for the bar exam towards the end of December, and then I didn't take any classes in my final semester of law school. So you would start studying for the normal amount as you would with any other bar exam, and then instead of taking classes, you study for the bar exam for the first 2.5 months, and then you do full-time pro bono work at a placement of your choice. So I was actually able to take the bar early and then also get a new experience. I worked with diversion initiatives actually through the Albany County District Attorney's Office, so that allowed me to see a different and unique perspective in something that I wanted to make a career, as well as sit for the bar early. So definitely an amazing program. You'll hear a lot about it once you get into the school, but something to think about.
Great. Thanks, Kayla, and congrats once again. All right, so Dean Queenan, I want to say thank you to you.
I want to thank the students and you. Thank you. And I hope I get to see you all in the fall. Congratulations again. It's a great place.
Yes. And thanks to all our students. We'll be seeing you again soon. And to those of you who are able to come back around after 4:15 or so, maybe some of these conversations can be continued. I know to all of our prospective students on the call, we definitely, will be providing the contact information for these students. Some of them have already done so in the chat, so you can certainly scoop it up that way. But you can also always contact admissions and let us know, and we know how to put you in touch. Many of them have their admissions ambassador bio listed on our website already. But again, we'll follow up. We'll give you all their names and email addresses, and you can have these conversations. We'll also have more Zoom meetings in the future, in the coming weeks, where you can sort of get to know them a little bit better too. So thanks to everybody. Keep your questions and your conversations going after today. Today is intended to start conversations, not complete them. So thanks for that. And we're going to shift next. I want to see if Dean Walsh Fitzpatrick is in the room. I haven't had a chance to check my list yet, but are you here yet, Mary?
She's here.
There she is. I do. I see you now. You're no longer invisible. With the spotlight view, these you gotta go through so many screens to try to find who's around.
I know. I'm here. I just unmuted myself.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to go ahead and pass the floor to you. You can introduce yourself and let our students know what all they're going to get into in the next half hour or so.
Terrific. So first I want to start by saying congratulations and welcome. Getting admitted to law school is no small feat, and you've done a lot to accomplish where you are. So wonderful, and congratulations to you. My name is Mary Walsh Fitzpatrick. I'm the Assistant Dean for the Career and Professional Development Center at Albany Law School, which you heard Dean Queenan talk a little bit about. Before joining Albany Law School, I was an Associate Director of Career Development at Brooklyn Law School for about 8 years. And before that, I was a practicing attorney in Manhattan for about 6 years. I am joined at the Albany's Career and Professional Development Center by 4 other members, our team. Some of you may have seen in the comments that students are saying hello to them. We have 2 counselors with master's degrees in counseling, which is wonderful, and then a director of recruitment who sets up all of our recruiting programs, and our legal assistant. So it's a well-staffed office with many, many years of experience. So to get us started and to give you a little bit of a better picture of how our office works with students, I think we have a video that maybe Ben can, okay. All right, roll it. I've always wanted to say that.
Hi, my name is Janita O'Connor, and I am a graduate of the Albany Law and Union Graduate College Joint JD MBA program, class of 2014. I currently live in Manhattan, and I work at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center as a compliance program manager. My time with Albany Law was life-changing.
Minor technical difficulties. We'll get it back.
Yeah, it looks like there was just a update patch coming through, of course, at the worst possible time.
A little glitch in the matrix
just a
never hurt
moment.
nobody.
Okay, should be coming back in just a second here. Okay, we need to open this one back up. Sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay, Ben. It wouldn't be a Zoom if there wasn't some kind of technical glitch.
I agree.
Graduate of the Albany Law and Union Graduate College Joint JD MBA program, class of 2014. I currently live in Manhattan, and I work at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center as a compliance program manager. My time with Albany Law was life-changing. It really helped mold me, and particularly working with the Career Services Center, I was really able to figure out what I wanted to do with my career after graduation, and I was able to find the best path for my joint degree. Everything from doing interviews to having my resumes reviewed and having access to other alumni, other classmates that had similar interests to myself. Having access to those resources really helped me really narrow down where I wanted to go next, and gave me the confidence to really go after what I wanted.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Rafus, and I'm a 2018 graduate. I'm currently a judicial law clerk for the Honorable Gary L. Sharp. Before that, I was an associate at a commercial litigation law firm in Manhattan, New York. The Career Center has really helped me to strategize and plan for professional opportunities and the many career paths that are available with a law degree. They are always available and more than willing to assist students, whether it be connecting students with alumni in the Albany Law Network, setting up on-campus interviews, or perfecting their resume. The relationships you establish during your time at the law school continue well beyond your 3 years as a student. Not only do they provide support to current students, but they're here to help alumni when making career transitions as well. I absolutely loved my time at Albany Law School and wish you all the best of luck as you make your final decisions.
My name is David Merson, class of 2001 from Albany Law School, talking to you from my study here in London, England. Welcome to the Albany Law School community. I hope you'll find your time at school as enjoyable as I did. It was really, despite the hard work, it was a lot of fun. I made some great friends, and I'm sure you'll enjoy your time here at school. I wanted to talk to you today about the career services offering at the school from my time back in, late 90s, early 2000s, which is a long time ago. During my time as a student, I had a few job placements, which I secured through the career office. I worked for the New York State Thruway Authority in their legal department, and then worked for a federal magistrate downtown Albany, which was a position I took for a year, which was really exciting. And I obtained that through the career office. Worked with the team on interview techniques and looking for jobs. They were always very supportive, and I know they helped a lot of my classmates secure roles both during their time as students, as internships and paid jobs for students, as well as for post-graduation, post-bar exam. I worked for a small firm in Rockland County, New York after I graduated, and then moved to London in 2003. I'm now a partner at a firm in central London called Gunnar Cook, where I specialize in real estate and real estate finance. And over the last 10 to 15 years, I've kept in contact with the team, and very often I'll have phone calls or emails with students who are considering internships or roles in London and are interested in relocating or possibly taking jobs for a period of time here in the UK. So they've always been very supportive, and I've always enjoyed staying in touch with the community and helping out the students where I can. So I wish you all the best and good luck with your studies here at the school. Take care.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nolan Comfort, and I am a 2015 graduate of Albany Law School, coming to you live from my apartment here in New York City, where I currently work as an assistant corporation counsel for the New York City Law Department. The Career Center has been awesome in helping me achieve my goals as a law student and also as an attorney now here in New York City. Starting off in 2012 when I was just a 1L, the Career Center helped me develop my resume so that it was more marketable to the legal community, helping me obtain a summer internship, my 1L and 2L summer, and then ultimately helped me shape my goals and achieve those goals of becoming an attorney here in New York City by putting me in touch with attorneys at the Legal Aid Society here in New York City, where I started my legal career as a housing attorney. The Career Services Center is not something that just stops as soon as you end law school. To this day, 5 years later, I'm still in touch with the Career Services Center, keeping them constantly posted about my goals, my developing goals, and where I see myself going, you know, from the next 2-3 years and beyond. The entire team at the Career Services Center, I really feel like has your back. And it's something that I think is really special to Albany Law School and something that really makes me value where I came from. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So congratulations to all you brand new accepted students and good luck.
My name is Allison Bartlett. I am from the Albany Law School class of 2018, and I currently live in Rochester, New York, and I work at Harder Seacrest and Emory in the Environmental Land Use and Zoning Group. I worked with the Career Development Office a lot during my time as a student, and they were extremely helpful. I'm from the Albany area. I had lived in big cities between undergrad and going to law school, and I came back to the Albany area and knew that I wanted to stay upstate for my legal career. And the Career Development Office really helped me explore different markets upstate and open my eyes to see that there's more than just Albany and upstate New York. And so through the on-campus interview process, I was able to have interviews with firms in Buffalo, Albany, Syracuse, and Rochester. And ultimately, I went on several callback interviews and really fell in love with Rochester and the firm that I work with. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity and what the Career Development Office showed me about these different markets, because I wouldn't have otherwise ended up here today. And so I think it's a very useful and helpful group. And I wish you all the best of luck on your decision, and I hope to see you at Albany Law School in the fall.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney Taylor. I'm an assistant district attorney at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I graduated from Albany Law in 2018. And a few of the amazing things that the Career Services Office helped me with were working backwards from figuring out what I wanted to do and then the steps I could take to get there. That included things like doing mock interviews with people who had worked at some of the district attorney's offices downstate so that I could really get a feel for what those interviews would be like. They helped me with all of my career documents, from reading and editing cover letters to really helping me craft my resume to get it to a point where it was truly something that I was able to talk about in all of my interviews and kind of use the things on my resume as talking points in interviews. And then just helping us navigate the application and interview process itself, from when to get back to people who had interviewed you, how to send thank you emails, and how to really wrap things up so that your interview and application process were seamless from start to finish. So I cannot be happier with the services I got from Career Services, and it was truly one of the best things about my time at Albany Law.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt LaRoche. I graduated in 2010. I'm currently an assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of New York in Manhattan. Before that, I clerked for Judge Wesley on the Second Circuit, and I also worked at a law firm in New York, Milbank Tweed. Hoping to talk a little bit about the Career Center today and just tell you about my experience, which was fantastic. As someone who was the first lawyer in the family, I knew absolutely nothing about what to do in terms of pursuing a career once I got to Albany Law School, and the Career Center was exceptionally helpful on that front. So I have two examples come to mind. First, when I used the Career Center during my first year at Albany, when I had no idea what to do my first summer, they pointed me in the right direction to some potential internships, including with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Albany, which I luckily got as my summer internship, which really kind of started me down a path to being a federal prosecutor after working there or after being at Albany Law School. The second thing that I recall is during my second year when I was interviewing at various law firms in New York City and had basically no idea what I was doing. But the Career Center throughout the process was exceptionally helpful in terms of preparing for the interviews and also talking through what happened after the interviews to make sure you could improve and figure out where you went wrong, what went right. And I think that really helped me in terms of figuring out where to go post-law school and understanding kind of what the different options were, which for me, I really didn't know where I was going at that point. It was just helpful to kind of work through people who've been doing this for so long. So they've been exceptionally helpful to me. I'm grateful for all the assistance they provided me, and I think they're a huge resource for anyone who is going to Albany Law School to really take advantage of. So I wish you the best of luck, hopefully out of quarantine soon, and good luck at Albany.
Congratulations on getting accepted. My name is Brenda Badam. I'm an associate with Barclay Damon. Prior to that, I was an assistant district attorney with the Albany County DA's office. The Career Center is fantastic. I can't say enough about it. Even when I was in law school, they helped me throughout the whole time, mock interviews and really just being a support system, especially coming from another state. They were amazing in my extended family. Now as an alum, I still keep in contact with multiple people at the Career Center and encourage you to do the same. I wish you the best of luck. Again, congratulations, make the best of it. And if you need anything, my door is always open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for playing that. That video makes me so incredibly happy. So hopefully what you took away from it, from hearing from our alumni, is how we work with each one of you individually every step of the way. And it starts really, from your first year of law school. When you start around October, be assigned to a career counselor. And that counselor will help you develop an individual career plan. You're going to change that plan 3 or 4 times throughout your 3 years at law school or 4 years at law school. And you're going to work with us every step of the way to assess your strengths, your weaknesses, the experiences you've gained that you enjoyed, and the experiences that you did not enjoy. Equally important. So you will notice that the alumni who spoke continue to stay in touch with us, and they are all willing to help you, along with many, many, many others. And that's sort of the magic of the Albany Law School community. And frankly, it's also one of the secrets to our high employment rate and our employment success. Our alums often come back to us looking for candidates exclusively from Albany Law School. And so that's benefited us a great deal. I thought that you might like a peek behind the numbers from the class of 2019. So I'm going to attempt, Amy, do I have time to just quickly share?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I am going to attempt, hopefully successfully, to share some of the details behind those numbers. So you probably have done your research and noticed that we posted that last year, the class of 2019 had a 90% employment rate. Of that 90%, more than half went to work for private law firms, about 30% went to work for government public interest organizations, 10% went to clerk for judges, and 7% went to work for business and industry, like the job that you heard Janita talk about with Memorial Sloan Kettering. In terms of law firms, our students work at regional, national, and international law firms. You heard some students mention or some alumni rather, mention the firms they started at. And these firms participate in our on-campus recruiting program here in Albany and our program in New York City. And we are right now contemplating building out a program in Rochester. In terms of government and public interest, we have a wonderful developed pipeline to many government offices, as you can imagine. We have a very strong pipeline to pretty much every district attorney's office throughout the state. And we also, I learned last year, the New York Attorney General hires more grads from Albany Law School than any other law school. So I thought that was really interesting. These are just a sampling of where our students go. And then finally, our students get clerkships in just about, and have gotten clerkships in just about every appellate division throughout New York State. And of course, with the New York State Court of Appeals, which if you don't know already, you'll learn is the highest court in New York State, in addition to federal district courts all throughout the state and in other states as well. So that's the inside baseball on where our students go to work, where our grads go to work. And in addition to individual counseling, we have a lot of career education programs that allow you to learn about different practice areas, and as well as employer information sessions that allow you to become familiar with specific employers before you even apply. So with that, I will open it up for any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Same drill, guys. Raise your hand, jump in, use the chat, any which way.
Yeah, I actually had a question. Out of curiosity, would you recommend trying to get an internship before you obviously have started your first year, or over the summer, just kind of relaxing and taking it easy before you get into law school? And then from there, when you get to actually talk to your career counselor, actually try to go for an internship?
You know, I think one of the best things that you can do before you enter law school is do some self-reflection. I don't think you necessarily have to do an internship, but you can certainly think about what you might want to do the summer after your first year. And there are many tools for self-reflection and self-assessment. I like the VIA, Character Strengths Assessment. And then also take this time to talk to some of our alumni. If Albany Law School is the school for you, we'd be happy to put you in touch with alums now so that you can start to learn a little bit about the nuts and bolts of practice in different areas before you come. I think that's a better way to set yourself up for success before your first year.
Absolutely, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
I'll ask a question. If, say I'm a 1L just coming in first day, hopefully we're back on campus, and I walk into the Career Center for the very first time, I'm very nervous, I don't know what to ask, I don't know what to do. What's my experience like that first time I walk through the door and speak with the crew that works there?
Well, so the first thing probably is that we would let you know that you should breathe and that it will all work out, right? And that you'll begin working with your counselor individually in October. We will reach out to you, right? You don't have to try to find us. And then I think that we would let you know there are events that will be planned, hopefully in person, but if not, certainly remotely, that will allow you to gain some information and access to different practice areas and to really start to develop your interests. And then we may give you a copy of an individual career plan that will sort of serve as our jumping off point for our first counseling appointment. And once you come to your first appointment, you'll provide us with we call it the ICP, and we'll go from there in terms of identifying appropriate first summer internships that will help you to develop your interests a little bit more, and in terms of talking about other extracurricular activities that you may want to get involved in order to build out your resume and experience. And then, of course, after that first meeting and before your second semester, we'll start working on that legal resume with you. And then you'll have it in perfect shape with many edits and back and forth before our spring recruiting programs that are held in February and March. And then you'll be on your way. You will be applying for first summer internships and securing them. And the other thing I would share, Ben, is that for any students who are coming to law school who don't have lawyers in their families, I too am a first generation law student. And so I'm really sensitive to that. And there is no question that you cannot ask me. There is nothing that I will think is something you should have known. One of the primary motivations for me in my career is being able to help students understand and navigate this landscape, because frankly, I was pretty lost as a law student, and a first generation law student at that. So I'm really comfortable talking about, any questions you may have, and know that you should be comfortable approaching me and anyone on the team.
Thank you, Dean Walsh Fitzpatrick. I think that's such a great sort of segue and such wonderful advice and sort of tying together some of the themes that we've been hearing all day. We hear about Albany in the Capital District, there's a little something for everybody. The legal profession has a little bit of something for everybody. You can pursue all these different interests. But I think it's important to reinforce that at Albany Law School specifically, we are committed to helping everybody achieve their goals, whatever those individual goals are. And I think that one of the things that can come out of an Accepted Students Day like this is that, I think when you are looking at starting law school, you sort of assume that you're supposed to know it all, and that's not the point. The point is we're going to teach you when you get here. So for anybody who's feeling any sort of trepidation about, whether it's choosing the law school, choosing a field to study, choosing a career path, meeting the right people, you don't have to know it today. That's why we're sort of giving you this overview today. So just keep engaging in those conversations, and I'm sure your career counselors are one of the most valuable conversations that they'll have. So thanks for that. We appreciate that. I hope you can stick around for a little while in case there are future questions.
Absolutely.
And if not, as we've reinforced throughout the day, you will be receiving her contact information. She's easy to find on the website. She'll probably put her email address in the chat for you, where none of us are hard to find. So keep track of your future questions, and we'll get you on your way. So thanks for that. We appreciate all of that good information about the Career Center. So our next presenter is going to be our keynote address from Judge Reba. I do know that she's on the call, so I'm going to say my first hello. Hello, Judge Reba. I'm going to give you a brief introduction. I'm going to say brief because she's far too accomplished for me to sort of, tell you all of the wonderful things that she's been doing. But I think it's good to know that we have with us today the Honorable Katrina Reba. She is a New York State Supreme Court Justice for the 3rd Judicial District. Judge Reba has held a variety of positions in the court system before being elected to serve as Justice of the Supreme Court with a term beginning in 2016. Prior to working in the judiciary, Judge Reba was an associate at Nixon Peabody, where she practiced labor and employment law, labor, employment law, and commercial litigation. She also served as an assistant attorney general for the State of New York Litigation Bureau. Judge Reba's additional public service includes appointment as general counsel and then as deputy director for the City of Albany Community Development Agency. She originally began her career in public service with the City of Albany Corporation Counsel's Office. As I said, she's super accomplished. The Albany County Access to Justice Committee and is a past president of the Albany County Bar Association. She's served multiple terms in the New York State Bar Association's House of Delegates. So that's just a flavor of all of the various experience you're about to get, all this wisdom sort of dropped on you. But I think one of our favorite ties to Judge Reba, and part of what draws her here today, is she's also one of our own Board of Trustees. And so thank you, Judge Reba. We're so happy to have you address us today. And I give you the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Accepted Students Day. First, I want to congratulate all of the accepted students and their families. Without a doubt, you conquered taking the LSATs, graduating from college, the application process, and were selected to be members of our Albany Law School family. You really deserve a round of applause. For a bit of history, I graduated from Albany Law School over 19 years ago, and I have to say that getting my legal education at Albany Law School really set the tone for my career. It was Albany Law School where I met some of my closest friends. It was Albany Law School where I realized that I really wanted to be a lawyer, which started out as just a backup plan. Originally, I applied to law school and decided to only go as a backup plan if my dream of becoming an actor failed to come to fruition. However, once I was exposed to the excellent faculty and staff here, my plans for the future took a different shape, especially after making it onto the national trial team in my second year and having the opportunity to craft an opening statement. I was hooked because some of the skills required for effective litigation include acting. So it was really a perfect fit. And once I made it through first year, which in my opinion is the hardest year of law school, I realized that I wanted to become a litigator and represent people in court. You see, at Albany Law, there will be opportunities to explore so many different areas of the law, from cybersecurity to trusts and estates. I took advantage of being part of the Student Bar Association, the National Trial Team, and Judicial Field Placement. It was the field placement that ignited my goal of eventually becoming a judge. I was in my second year of law school when I began the internship with then Supreme Court Judge Bernard Malone. Working with the law clerk, I was tasked with writing decisions and giving the opportunity to observe trials. I was truly inspired. I saw Judge Malone presiding over trials, conducting conferences, assisting attorneys with settling cases, and I knew one day I wanted to have the opportunity to serve the public in a similar way. Now, I didn't become a Supreme Court judge overnight. It was the connections I made with alumni from this school that gave me advice along the way. These connections and the support that alumni, faculty, and staff give are just a few of the many reasons why getting your Juris Doctorate from Albany Law School is an excellent choice. Without a doubt, there are several alumni on the state and federal bench, attorneys in private practice, and public service. These practitioners are always here to guide you on your own paths, and they may even offer a job when you graduate. Recently, I served as a bar exam coach to an Albany Law School student who interned in my chambers. It's these types of relationships you create as a result of selecting Albany Law. Since 2016, half a dozen Albany Law School students have completed field placements in my chambers. And it's always a great learning experience for the students. And it's also an opportunity for me to serve as a mentor. These students often come back and visit. Some call on me and my staff for advice about jobs, references, and I'm always happy to give my perspective and share them on as they start on their own career paths. And I have a student beginning this summer as an intern in our virtual chambers, which will be very interesting. So currently, in my role as a member of the Board of Trustees, I'm honored to serve with some of the most successful attorneys and judges in the world, in my humble opinion. As a member of the Albany Law School Board of Trustees, I continue to grow professionally and learn more about business and the importance of philanthropy. So from my experience, Albany Law School is the gift that keeps giving. And when you choose Albany Law School, you will always have those connections and be given the opportunity to grow, no matter how successful you become or think you have become. And I'd like to end on a personal note. In my second year of law school, I was going through some health issues. And I recall going to see my torts professor, who was also a dean at the time. Her name is Dale Moore. She was also my academic advisor, and I kind of considered her my life coach as well. Anyway, Dean Moore, who also happens to be a registered nurse, put everything aside she was working on. And after I shared my symptoms with her, she drove me to Albany Medical Hospital. Not only did she make sure I was properly taken care of, but she followed up with me daily, until I was able to return to school. The way Dean Moore took care of me made a difference. And looking back, I don't think I would have made it through law school without her advocacy and guidance. I recall another pivotal time I went to Dean Moore after having a difficult first semester. And I asked her, what if law school isn't for me? And Dean Moore looked at me and asked with a no-nonsense tone, she asked me, well, what else do you plan to do with your life? And I really had no answer. So she wisely advised that I go back to the library and study. I took her advice and I never looked back. Without Dean Moore's advocacy and firm guidance, maybe I would have given up. Albany Law School provided me with the resources and the personal connections that I needed in a vulnerable time in my life. And that's why I'm so glad I chose Albany Law. Likewise, I met two of my dearest friends in life on the first day of law school during orientation. And we've been there for each other through what seems like a lifetime. The bar exam, weddings, divorces for some, kids, job opportunities, and so much more. Without choosing the school, I wouldn't have the same community and personal connections. So I want to thank you for listening to my remarks and for choosing Albany Law School. I look forward to seeing you all around campus in the next 3 years, and I hope you enjoy the virtual receptions, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much. We appreciate those words that you're just being here. You're always so gracious with your time. So we're really, really thankful. I want to invite our current students, if you have questions for Judge Reba, you know how to get us. Let's hear what your thoughts are. And then, also while we're at it, we're sort of going to move into sort of a town hall style. So at this point of the day, you've heard a lot from us. And so you sort of know what it is that we think is important for you to be thinking about. And now you're welcome to sort of continue any of those conversations, ask any questions about what you've heard, or if there's any topics that you feel like we haven't touched on that you were hoping to hear about. We know that many of you are getting close to making that decision. And so we want to make sure that we're answering the questions that you have. So you have a whole cross section of faculty, staff, trustees, alumni, current students. We're all here to help you. So whatever the topic, just let us know. So you can raise your hand, you can speak out, you can put it in the chat. But now is the time to sort of let us know what's on your mind. I'm looking at our participant list to see if we have any of our current students who are still in the room who have anything else that they wanted to add that maybe they didn't have a little time for. I feel like that's always the current student conversations are always the ones that keep boiling over in the middle of the day. And I know we have Dean Willett is back in the room, right? So Dean Willett, if you had anybody that you wanted to sort of, I see D. Somebody says I see D.
So sure, this is a big group, and it's always sort of awkward to do the chat with a big group. But sometimes I can help by putting on my law professor hat and calling on some people. So I'm not going to call on any of the admitted students today. This will probably be the last time that you're out of that when you're with me at Albany Law School. But I do see that we've got a great cross section of folks, and you've heard from a great cross section of folks today and asked lots of questions. I hope that you'll use the chat or raise your hand if you have questions. But I wonder if we could hear maybe from let's see, I got a list of folks who are on the call who haven't yet spoken today. I see Professor Jaya Connors here. Professor Connors runs our family violence litigation clinic. Professor Connors, can you just say a word to the admitted students about what you love about Albany Law School?
I think, as Judge Reba pointed out, one of the best things about Albany Law School is that we are a community of law professors, of staff members, of students that really care about each other and want each of us to succeed. And we, as your teachers, are invested in your success. And we want to make sure that you get the best opportunity possible to be the best at whatever you want to do in your legal career. And we are there for you. We don't just say that, but what I found about this law school is they really mean what they say in terms of the community. The other thing that I want to say is that I see a couple of questions about, you know, about career and academic advisors. The way this law school is set up, we are there for, we will assign you somebody immediately. The minute you get on and start your first year here, you will find that you will have an academic advisor right away, and it's assigned through the registrar's office, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong. But in any event, I just want to say that the sense of community is something that's really important in this law school, and it's something that stands firm.
Thank you, Professor Connors. And Judge Reber, I meant to say thank you so much for your remarks, as always. Wonderful to see you and have you here. Trustee Tim O'Hara, I see you out there. Are you?
I feel like I'm back in first year, afraid to get called.
I'd like you to recite the
I'm ducking.
case, please. So what do you love about Albany Law School, or what do you find about Albany Law School that's different from other places?
Well, I love everything, of course. I'm happy to be a part of I'm a trustee with Judge Reba, who is amazing. I'm a 1996 graduate, and I came to Albany Law School. Well, maybe I was a CPA first, and I came for maybe a bit of a different path than Judge Reba. I came more for a tax law. Not too many people maybe pursue that, but I thought it was going to be really interesting. And I ended up in wealth management. And so now I'm the president of the Rockefeller Family Office in New York. And I think Albany Law School was instrumental in getting me prepared to be ready for a professional life. As much as I had the accounting background, what law school taught me was really how to think, how to write a little bit better, how to speak persuasively. And the relationship piece of the law is really, really important. As Judge Reba said, I think so much of this is human interaction, listening, understanding, thinking about both sides of the law. I think Albany Law School did a phenomenal job with that. And I think back to some of the professors I had, and I thought I could write fairly well when I came in, and I realized writing legally is so much different. And to do that effectively is so important. And I think Albany Law School does a phenomenal job with that. But the other is the mentorship that takes place with the professors. I loved. I had Professor Youngblood at the time as my assigned mentor, and she teaches property, and she's still with us here today. And she was just a rock star. You'd go to her, you'd get no nonsense answers, but also support and a feeling of community, as has been said here. And so I always felt like you had people with your back that wanted you to succeed, as opposed to perhaps making it so stressful and intense that you didn't feel you could succeed. There's definitely a healthy balance because law school is not easy. The first year is hard. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of writing, but you expect that when you come in. What you don't necessarily know is the community you're going to go into. And I could just say without question, it's a very collaborative, supportive community. And that is welcoming when you're thinking about practicing the law. And the other is the law review, whether you write on, whether you grade on, whatever, it's intense. It's impressive, in terms of the quality of the work that's being produced. And so I think that the thing that I would say about Albany Law School for me is it was a stepping stone for my career. Without it, I'm nowhere near where I'm at today. And when I think about my classmates, some are judges, some are partners in law firms, some are sole practitioners, some have nothing to do with the law, but all of them are doing pretty well. And so I think it prepares you for life, whatever that may be in terms of your career.
Thanks, Tim. Not to put you on the spot, but just sorry, Dean Willett, but would you mind sharing where it is you are today, just to give our crew a sense of where you're at?
I mean, so right now I'm not, but I'm in New York City working at Rockefeller Center for really the president of the Rockefeller Family Office. So we do the investments, the tax planning, the philanthropic planning, and all of that for the Rockefeller family and other ultra high net worth families, around the country and really around the world. So it's pretty exciting. And while I'm not practicing law per se, a lot of my legal practice comes into play on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tim. And for two things. One, the question about where you are and where you work, we had planned to do an event for admitted students down at Rockefeller Plaza. You owe them a cocktail party, so we'll make sure that this group, when they decide on Albany Law and we're back socially together, we're going to take you up on that offer.
I promise we'll have that in New York City when we can for awesome. Those that care. Yes. You all heard it. I also Tim has supported the law school in many ways. One of the ways he supported us is with a new initiative that we have, which is called the Women's Leadership Initiative. And he's just made he and his wife made a very generous gift supporting the Women's Leadership Initiative. It's about to launch next week. So it's something we haven't talked about. It's a work in progress, but it's going to be a great opportunity. I did see in the chat a question about new classes. One of the things that we do at the law school is we create classes sort of on a lot. And we're always trying to get ahead of where answer student need, but also if we see something in the market where we think if a student knew about this, they're going to be more marketable. So we have some really innovative classes. We have a class on drone law where instead of a casebook, you buy a drone and you fly it around and learn about it. And it's a really complex legal area with lots of regulatory things. We just approved a whole slew of classes around human resources leadership, which are designed for our master's programs, but available to our JD students. We've got new classes in the financial compliance area, a whole bunch of new classes around health law, areas where there's growth in the law. We're creating more classes on that. And I did see Professor Ayers on the call. She's created a new class around government stuff. Could you real quickly just describe what your class is?
Oh, sure. The quick part will be challenging, but I'll be happy to give it a try. I'm the director of the Government Law Center here, and we spoke to a lot of employers and lawyers in practice about the new graduates that they'd seen and what skills are important for a new graduate. And basically, we built a class around what was missing from the standard law school curriculum for people who want to go into public service. So it includes things like, how does the lawmaking process work in state legislatures and the US Congress? How does legislative budgeting work? Because if you don't understand the budget, you don't understand power in government. What is local government structure like? How does that work? And who's looking over your shoulder when you're in government? Public information, like freedom of information laws, but also inspectors general, and the criminal oversight stuff. People in office get prosecuted. What do they get prosecuted for? How can you avoid being prosecuted for that if you go into government? So it's a class that was really built around the needs that we identified, and I'm extremely excited about it.
Great. Dean Mangione, are there other questions that you?
The chat is alive.
It's hard to follow it and talk and listen all at the same time.
It's fantastic. Many of our members, as you know, are here and they're answering them. So there's a lot of chat about, we talked about some veterans sort of services and how they can get involved with Veterans Affairs. We talked about some other new classes. Certainly welcome Professor Ayers. That's great. I don't know if Andrew Duty is still on the call, but that's Professor Ayers. We were talking about you. I don't know if your ears were burning, but we had some questions about the GLC Fellowship program. So maybe if you just want to drop a couple words on sort of how and when you usually do that selection process while we're filtering through some other things, that might be a good one that folks want to hear about.
Sure. Do you mean drop in the chat or say out loud?
You can speak out loud.
Okay. So yeah, and I'll just say my email address is on the website as well, and I'll put it in chat. Anybody's welcome to reach out if they want more information. But the GLC Fellowship is a mentoring program that runs for the whole 3 years if you're interested in that, where we do informal mentoring. We also have classes that we put you in and other activities to build a community of people who are interested in government, if that's the course that you choose to follow. In terms of when and where to apply, we keep the applications open until a couple of weeks after classes start in the fall, because we want to make sure that nobody misses the opportunity to apply. And application forms are already up on the website. So you're certainly welcome to apply now. I really don't think it makes a difference when you apply in terms of your chances of getting the fellowship, so I wouldn't worry about that. I do think that if you're interested in the fellowship, it's a great idea to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to people one-on-one or to set up group meetings. I've been doing a bunch of those just because it helps you get a better sense of what the fellowship is and whether it might be right for you, but also because I think it's a good idea for everybody to be reaching out to professors early before you arrive to get a sense of the community that you're getting into and how we can be helpful to you. Everybody here is happy to do that, so I encourage you to reach out.
Great, thanks so much. I think at the moment, I think everyone has received a response. So if you haven't, I'm going to encourage you to raise your hand or speak up in some other way, because as far as I can see, the ones that have been asked thus far have received a response.
Well, I'm happy to call on people too.
Yeah, continue calling. Continue.
How about we go? It's especially fun to call on the members of the Board of Trustees. So Diane Phillips, I see you're there. Diane Phillips is a member of our board who works in Big Law in Boston. We got a lot of questions earlier about how students should best prepare themselves for law school. I'm curious what you think. Diane, are you there?
It just froze you.
Oh dear.
So, okay, I didn't hear your question. Sorry, Dean.
So from your perspective, and with what advice do you have for students as they are getting ready for law school?
So, like Dean Walsh Fitzpatrick, I am a first-generation law student, and I went to law school on a dare, and I was a farmer the summer before I started law school. And I arrived, I was a farmer on Nantucket Island, and I arrived, with the shirt sleeve tan and the grimy hands, but with the understanding of, what discipline is if you've hoed an 800-foot row of lettuce for 8 hours a day. So I think the summer before you start law school, I agree with Dean Walsh Fitzpatrick, is to think about and self-reflection about what you want your career to be, which is really more about what kind of person you want to be. These are challenging times, and I think all of us are confronted with what kind of person we want to be. And I know the law school really did help me sort of create the human being and the adult I have become. And I have a lot of fond memories of being in law school. And now it was over 30 years ago. I graduated, I was class of 1988. So I will say I've also seen, this is my fourth economic downturn in my career. And so it happens. I mean, these are the things you learn about the resilience of what it takes to persevere. That was probably the biggest thing that I learned in law school. I'm happy to answer questions about Boston, or, I'm not sure what it was like 30 years ago is all that relevant, but it's actually not all that different always.
Great. I do see a question in the chat about how many extracurriculars do most students take at one time without being overwhelmed? And I'm thinking I'll throw that one to Professor Mary Lynch, because she's wearing a fabulous hat.
Hi there. I was wearing a fabulous hat when I was outside. I'm trying to get away from all the noise in my home. And so I've been walking around, and I was just kind of typing the chat. So I'm so glad you called on me. I have Irish skin. I have to wear the big hat when I'm outside. So I think one thing to really think about is that we're professionally developing you with the skills. Like, there are two things. One, you want to experience as many types of touches with the law, with different opportunities, so that you can create a sense of professional identity about what's your role, where do you belong in the arc of your career as a lawyer, or using the law to have a fulfilling life, both personally and professionally. The second piece, though, is learning the professional skills of prioritizing, when and how to say no or yes and, or maybe not this semester, but another semester, so that you balance really over the course of 3 years, having as many opportunities to grow your knowledge, your skills, your aptitudes, the professional values of being a lawyer, of being a justice warrior. And so in terms of that, I think the number is not really as important. One thing that's different than undergrad, I think, is that there are many experience-based opportunities that are not extracurricular. They are core to the curriculum. They are what you need to do to experience all of the opportunities to learn about different kinds of law. And so you can get credit for that. You can have here every semester, you could do a clinic if you want. Some students tend to prioritize what's their main or primary devoted extracurricular activity, whether it be an affinity group, whether it be the student bar, etc. It doesn't mean they don't do other things as well. Some students thrive better when they're very busy. But that professional development of how do you balance that is something that you're going to talk about with your faculty advisor and with your career advisor as you go along the way. Because we don't want you to lose the precious time of these 3 years to optimize the experience and prepare yourself for the rest of your life, both personally and professionally.
Thanks for that. I do see there's some students current students. I see Nick is back and Kieran. Do either one of you want to talk to what you've observed with how many extracurriculars people do?
Yeah, sure. I could talk really quick. So I'm actually involved in a lot of stuff with the school as far as extracurriculars go. Between doing admissions, I'm president with the rugby club, like I was talking about earlier, Environmental Law Society and stuff like that. And I think that the extracurriculars are something that really helped me a ton when it comes to my experience with law school. Not only am I in different, surrounded by different people that are, I kind of look to as a crutch to help me through. But even things like we do with the rugby program, a 1L check-in where like we kind of, talk to the rugby guys that are 1Ls and see how they're doing and like are really trying to make sure that they're on track with the goals that they want, as well as doing stuff with Environmental Law Society. And I think that just personally, my experiences with doing the extracurriculars, the big thing is being able to balance. And I know that, you hear it all the time, but, we are here for law school. Our goal here at the end of the day is to be sure that we are, maintaining grades and doing what we want to do for ourselves there. So, but I don't know, I think my experience has been absolutely amazing between the alumni network, the stuff I've been doing with rugby, just all together. I've had a great experience with it.
That's great.
Dean Olet, I'd like to pitch in there as well. Sure. So similar to Nick, I was very involved my 1L year. I am one of those people, as Professor Lynch said, does better under pressure and a busier schedule. What I will say is, and I saw Professor Jim touch base on this, there's definitely different ways to get involved and like different time commitments. So consider moot court, for instance. You volunteer, and it's usually you volunteer for one day, one event, one round, and that right there is an opportunity to say you volunteered for moot court. But there's other more intensive ones such as SBA and other things I'm not thinking of right now. But point is that I think it all depends on the person. So Nick and I are similar where we like to be busy, but grades definitely should be a huge priority your 1L year. And I think just don't overdo it your first year. I think make sure I think it is important to get involved so you feel like you're comfortable and like it's like I consider Albany Law like a family, but I also think you have to step back and make sure you don't overwhelm yourself.
Thanks, Joe. I think Dale Twillis is on the line. He's a trial lawyer. And Dale, are you there?
I am.
So do you have anything to add to this conversation or say to our admitted students?
Yeah, the thing that jumps to my mind after hearing the various comments, having graduated in 1972, it's a very long time ago. And when I went to Albany Law School, there was no support system. And Diane, you were a farmer in Nantucket. I worked on farms when I was in high school in Kansas. We have something in common. I just learned that. I harvested enough wheat and corn to feed everybody on this conference call for a couple lifetimes. But anyway, the most amazing thing to me is, and it has been, I think I've been on the board for over 10 years, is the support that is provided by the school. You've heard a lot of it. I mean, having designated advisors and career counselors is just absolutely incredible. The support that the school gives you cannot be any better than anything you could ever dream of. The spirit that exists there, and thanks very much to Dean Ouellette and the rest of the administration, is just incredible. They really care about you. They really want you to succeed. And one of the things I'll say as a result of the coronavirus epidemic is suddenly, without any expectation, the school had to convert overnight into this new virtual reality world. And thanks to Dean Ouellette and the administration having commenced a graduate school several years ago, they were able to do this within a couple of weeks. And we are able to have this communication now. It's just been an absolutely wonderful experience to see how professional and quick reacting this administration is. And we all so much look forward to all of you coming to the school in the fall.
Thank you, Dale. I did see a question about support for academics and writing support, and we certainly have that. We have a dedicated faculty member who is an academic support person. There's a pretty extensive program that you can take advantage of. There is a peer writing network, so there are some of your peers will work with you. They work in the Career and Professional Development Center sometimes, and also with individual students in writing. And we also have an assistant dean for diversity and inclusion who supports a lot of our students. And I see that Dean Riddle is on the call. Dean Riddle, you want to talk a little bit about what you do at the law school? See if he shows up. He's still there? All right, well, we'll come back to him if he arrives. Is he there? No, I thought I saw him. Okay, I think I see that we have a visitor from the New York Court of Appeals, the highest court in the state. Judge Leslie Stein, are you able to say hello?
I am. I'm happy to say hello. I'm happy to be here. Just came off of 3 days of hearing election appeals and deciding election appeals, which is always a very high pressure endeavor, but we got it done. So I'm happy to be here and to welcome all of you. I graduated only a few years after Dale Twillis, 1981, and I was actually a transfer student to Albany Law School. I would have to agree with Dale that there is so much more at Albany Law School than there was back 30 some years ago, close to 40 years ago. And it still amazes me how much is available in terms of support, in terms of opportunities, activities, all kinds of things. But I want to speak speak to something a little different, and maybe you've actually heard it. I'm sorry that I may have joined you late, but it is the support of the alumni network and the community that is also just incredibly valuable. I know that it helped me so much in my career, both practicing law as a matrimonial attorney and going up the ladder of the judiciary. I never dreamed in my entire life that I would be on the Court of Appeals of the state of New York. And I want you to know that out of 7 judges on that court, 2 of us are graduates of Albany Law School. Judge Michael Garcia is as well. You know, Albany Law School prepares you for just about anything. And whether you know, I chose to stay in Albany, and the network of alumni and in Albany is just so extensive, but they're everywhere and they're available to help everywhere. And so that's one of the greatest gifts that I got from Albany Law School.
Thank you. And you have had some clerks who are Albany Law grads.
I have. Most of my clerks have been Albany Law grads, and they're also wonderful. And others have been clerks for other judges, but on the court, as well as in other courts in the area. So yeah, lots of opportunity.
And when Judge Stein doesn't hire an Albany Law grad, I kind of give her a hard time. So just so you know, we're looking out for you. We're very, very lucky to have Judge Stein in our network, and she is very incredibly loyal.
Well, and they're certainly among the best that I've had. And they're terrific. And occasionally I will also take an intern. So keep that in mind.
Are there any other questions, Ben or DeMangione?
I might pose a question, because just knowing that some of the conversations we've had with students, and we have so many of our trustees, and there's wonderful broad diversity of, you know, employers and things with us today, about just if you could speak a moment about the overall value of the investment in a law school degree right now. I know a lot of students, you know, understand that they're taking on this investment and they're taking on a significant, you know, possibly a bit of debt, and they hear about, well, is it worth it? Is it going to be worth it in the long run? And so if anybody has any thoughts about that sort of, is it worth the investment? I think our incoming students, whether they've announced it yet today, it's on their minds, and I know that they're thinking about it. So if anybody has any advice from that standpoint, it might be worth mentioning.
I would like to comment on that. I was a physics major at RPI, and after 3 years, that didn't sound as interesting as I thought it would in the beginning. And at that time, as a young person, I thought that, well, I get a law degree, it's going to give me some flexibility. It turned out I ended up being a trial lawyer. But since then, so many of my colleagues have gone into so many different fields. And that's what I think is the greatest value of a law degree. It's not just being a lawyer. Even as a lawyer, there are so many, many different types of careers you can have, but you can have an equal number of other careers beyond a practicing lawyer. It's the flexibility that a law degree gives you. No other graduate degree gives you that kind of flexibility. Not only flexibility, but flexibility for very, very successful careers.
Dean, it's Deb. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry, I also joined a little bit late. Apologies. Really nice to see you all, and also all my friends at the law school who I haven't seen in a while. I'd like to speak to that from personal experience. I would say it is the best investment I've ever made in my life. It made my life. I didn't go the traditional law route. I was actually moving to New York City, having grown up in Glens Falls, New York, small town, and my experience had been working and clerking in small firms and for a surrogates judge. And when I went to New York, I kind of wanted to avoid the large law firm experience. So I joined the investment division of JP Morgan, today JP Morgan Chase. And I went there with a pretty heavy arsenal of knowledge. I joined and actually worked in the trust and estate. My my heavy lift was in tax and trust and estate and property law. And also I worked in the residence council office. But over the years, my career really went into generally management directions, executive. And, as Dale said, I think as a lawyer, you often find yourself being the person in the room who can just take a mound of facts and a mound of information and be able to get to the core of what is important and what is going to make a difference, and to be a tremendous strategic thinker, I think, and a decision maker. I also have recently retired after 40 years, but I found my career took me around the world. I ran businesses for JP Morgan in Europe, in Asia, and I also kept using my law degree every single day. And that clarity, I think, of thought, of analysis, of expression, of communication is something that will stand you in good stead, whatever you may do. And it also will enable you to do all sorts of things that you never thought of. That was certainly the case with me. So great investment.
I'll jump in. I like to ask people, what do you want to do in life? If you want to be a doctor, you got to go to med school. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school. The nice thing about law school is you can do a lot of other things beyond being a lawyer, if you so choose. So I would echo what Deb said. I remember talking to my father about it when I decided to go to law school. And he's a teacher. He didn't have the money. It was on my own. It was my own investment. And it was an easy decision. It was an investment in myself for the future. I didn't get scholarships. I had loans. And what I did when I got out was I extended those loans over 30 years, because you're able to do that with student loans. And so it was basically, something manageable every month that you dealt with. And if you could accelerate the payments, I accelerated the payments. And I just decided I'm going to pay that off first before I make any investments, so I don't have to be straddled with debt long term. And you deal with it. So I think people overemphasize it personally. I think it leads you to something that you're not otherwise going to have the chance to. And if you can do that for, whatever the dollar amount ends up being, it's exciting in the theory that you're probably going to work 30, 40, whatever number of years in this lifetime. So to me, I wouldn't overthink it. If you want to do this, you go for it. The fact that you're on this call means you probably want to go for it. And so don't overthink the prices, is what I would say.
Thank you all for such amazing advice.
Any other questions out there? It's been a long day. We've gone through a lot, covered a lot of ground. So I'm going to ask the current students one question that I don't know if it's on any of the prospective students' minds, but you've lived through now a semester of online teaching. We all know it wasn't what we wanted, and we know that it's not what we're aiming for. But just so the prospective students know, can you just, one or two of you, talk about your experience with it and what's the community been like while we've been online?
Yeah, I'll jump in here really quick. Actually, I got to be careful what I say, because I had Professor Ayers as a professor here. So no, but actually,
anonymous
overall,
grading,
I will have to
you can
give
say
the
anything
school,
you want.
I do have to give the school a ton of credit. All of my professors were extremely accommodating with the whole situation. And I mean, Professor Ayers opened up office hours outside of the normal office hours that we could pop in and do Zoom, answering emails really quickly, all sorts of things. And I know that we were all dealt kind of a difficult hand, because this isn't what we were expecting coming into law school. But I think that between the administration, all of the professors, everybody, they did everything that they can to be available for the students. And for me, one thing that I give tours when we were actually able to give tours in person, and I would always mention this on my tours, that Albany Law School, they do what they can to really be there and show that the students hey, we're here for you. We're not here for the overall law thing. No, we're here for the students. And that really came out a lot with this online switch to online, at least, that I saw. And I thought that was something that I really thought was a cool thing that Albany Law School did. And I heard stories from other law schools, but I think that it really came across here in this online thing as well. So there's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Nick. Anyone else want to weigh in?
A different way that my professors ended up accommodating to us in these tough times was like, for instance, Professor Heverly. He would post his video lectures after the class. So even though we were sitting in on the class, it's really difficult in the current environment to concentrate as you once did in the classroom. So Professor Heverly would provide us with the video so we can go back and rewatch it when we could. And I think several other of my professors did similar things. So.
Looking to see anyone else. Matt.
I can touch on it briefly too. So obviously it wasn't exactly an ideal situation we found ourselves in, but I think the staff did a really good job kind of coming together and piecing together this curriculum. I had different professors that had different methods of teaching online. Some would record the video lectures and upload them. Sometimes we would pop in for an actual lesson over Zoom at the same time. But all of them were very accommodating with their office hours. The TAs were great too. They were always open for emails. So it's like their TA hours never even changed. So while obviously it's not ideal to do this online, we'd all like to be back. I think that it's set up as well as it possibly could be given the circumstances.
Thank you. So as lawyers, we're taught we're not supposed to ask a question we don't know what the answer will be. So I just did that. I just violated the rule, but
you survived to tell the tale.
It was okay. It was okay. And you know, we started out the day talking about our hope to be back on campus. We are working really hard to make that possible, and we can't wait. And we really, I think we all of us in this community room want to be together again. We want to be together with all of you, and we want to build a community in the way that we're used to. But in the meantime, we're going to be there for you. You will get all the emails about all the programming that's coming up and the chances to talk, chances to bring your family in. Next Wednesday, I think that is, I'm doing a chat where for your family, your spouses, your partners, if you have kids who are interested in what's going to be like for mom or dad to go to law school. And we are happy to provide anything else you need. If there's a session, if there's something you need, if you just need to talk to a couple of students without all of us in the room, we'll set that up. If you want to talk one-on-one with any of our professors to a person, they will set that up. They will be there. We can arrange for those kind of conversations in whatever form you need.
I can also add one quick little note. You were trying to get Dean Riddle's attention, and I just want to share, he was able to get me privately. He was called away on another call. So he was logged in. He was trying to talk to you all, but he did get called away. So on his behalf, I will just say that he congratulates you, he welcomes you all, and he looks forward to working with you as we continue to pursue inclusive excellence. You will hear more from him, so he wasn't ignoring you.
I'm sure of it. He's extraordinary. He's a wonderful community.
Yeah, he was just multitasking like many of us are asked to do, right? So
true. It's true. So are there any other questions?
Can I just add one thing real quick before we're done?
Sure.
So just to chime in on what the students were saying about the experiences of being online, you know, as everybody said, we wouldn't have chosen it this way, but I think prospective students should know that after the experiences of this semester, we faculty members have a lot of new information about how our students learn that we didn't have before. We've been having conversations with our students, checking in, asking how things are going. And it's not only prompted a massive effort by the faculty to make sure that when the fall starts, whether we're completely online, completely in person, or some of one and some of the other, we're going to be teaching in the best way we've ever taught as a faculty, and we're going to have the best and most successful educational semester we've ever had as a faculty. But also that you know, again, even though nobody would have chosen it that way, we've learned an awful lot about how our students learn. What part of a lecture do the students find easiest to pay attention to? How does that change when you're online? What does make it easier or harder for students to pay attention, to participate, to learn from each other? We have task forces running this semester. We have committees meeting. We're all reworking our syllabi as we do every summer. And I think even though it's been a real challenge, it's also in a lot of ways the most exciting time. I haven't been a professor for long enough for it to be very meaningful for me to say the most exciting time I've ever been a professor, but I think it's going to be an incredible semester in the fall thanks to what we've learned through this crisis.
Thank you. Professor Lynch.
So I have been a professor long enough to say over 30 years and stay here because of its student-centeredness and the amazing priority I can have to be a teacher first. Law practice is changing because of the pandemic. I was on a call today, several calls today, in which virtual hearings in courts, etc. We are preparing to optimize our Justice Center, our classes and our courses for the law of your lifetime. And that teaching is going to include a sort of hybrid of virtual and residential. And so I know you might have seen today, Facebook is thinking of giving their shared offices, right? There's things happening in law practice, as there always is from this. And we're prepared, your faculty, your administration is prepared that we're going to be on the cutting edge of teaching you, not just for the law practice of 2019 or 20, but of 2030.
I think that forward-looking view is a good way to sort of end a really good day. Is it okay if I draw to a close?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just have one like sort of closing sentence that I just want to say to kind of wrap up from the beginning, that I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come and be with us, and especially our prospective students for putting in the time this day to spend the whole day with us, really giving a lot of thought to this decision. You know, we talked about all the uncertainty and the sort of the difficult decisions on the way in, but I hope that this day has sort of showed you that it doesn't all have to be uncertain, and that this is actually a really opportune time. You're really on the cusp of a cutting edge of a brand new frontier, as Professor Lynch said. So I'm hoping that you can sort of flip that opportunity and see this uncertainty as your prime opportunity to really get in on something brand new that no one else has ever had an opportunity to do before. So I'll let you close this out.
So when we're all together on our usual admitted students day, this is our cocktail hour part of our programming. And while we're doing this in a different way, I think it's nice to just kind of end with a toast to all of our admitted students and to the bright futures ahead, to our community, which is so strong and carries us all every day, and to Albany Law School. Cheers to all of you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thanks for spending the day with us.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks all. I'll be following up in your email, so don't hesitate to follow up with any of us, but thanks to everyone for joining us today.
Many thanks.
We're getting some thanks in our chat room from our prospective students. That's always nice.
Well done, Amy. Nice day. Bye, everybody.
Takes a village. And we have a heck of a strong one.
Congratulations, Amy.
Well, thanks, Persia. I don't know that I deserve congratulations, but I mean, I'll say thank you. Congratulations to you. You've done a lot of effort in sort of getting these students this far as well. I'm glad to hear that they found it helpful. That's always the biggest concern, right? Is that we're getting to the heart of the information they feel they need.
And hanging in there, Amy, to the bitter end. I watched the numbers. We're doing great.
They did.
Everyone stayed put. We love that.
I agree. It was very consistent.
And to our current students who had exams. And
Joe's teasing Allison.
Look at Joe.
It's closed. I closed it today. That's why.
The teasing is always one of my favorite parts of Zoom, because like that's I feel like you weren't getting a lot of that in the beginning. Like everyone was still trying to just, wrap their heads around all of this adjustment. And now that we've all kind of gotten over that initial, self-consciousness and whatever that you have to go through, now we're just all like ready to be ourselves again. And like, yeah, whatever. The background is what it is. And
I thought I have to give a big kudos to Nicholas. Nicholas, that was an awesome response to the, I wrote him separately. I said perfection. I said, you did a great job. Awesome. I wanted everyone to know.
Yeah.
I cannot believe Nicholas Wall is a third-year student.
I can't even believe it. We're not sure yet.
I wrote out 3L and realized I was wrong.
Everyone moved up, Nick.
You can count. It's fine, Joe. It's fine. It's all right. We gotcha.
Matt, was that your last final today? So are you all done with your finals, Matt?
Yeah, that was end of one out here right there.
All right, excellent.
Ben, thank you for being such a trooper, hanging in there.
Yeah, thank you, Ben.
Bang up job. I don't think there's no single event or Zoom thing that happens without Ben or Tom. Like the two of them are just like holding it down for the whole universe.
Ben, how long have you been at Albany Law School?
10 minutes.
It feels like forever.
Well, in coronavirus years, like 4. In actual years, about 3/4 of 1.
I was gonna say about 8 months. Yeah, like bananas, right?
Yeah, Nick knows you well from that, the whole video tour. And Nick, we get a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback from the students about that